Welcome to Pensare Basketball Live. The Toronto Raptors stack another loss on top of a string of losses, and the tank rolls on. Unlike the last two games, however, this one was with RJ Barrett, and unlike the last two games, this one was not fun to watch. There were some good moments for sure. This is not going to be some sort of slanderous, the Raptors are so bad or stuff. Last night at 3 a.m., I decided to do a live on why Darko Rajakovic is such a gift to Toronto. And during that live, Awful Coaching called in and we had a long discussion about the Toronto Raptors defense. And then the Toronto Raptors, literally as if on cue, come out and put up possibly the worst defensive effort of the season. Now, I am very firm on record that you don't have the personnel without Jakob Pertl, who I admit has not been a great defender. But if you're not going to play Bruno Fernando in this game, you don't have the personnel to stop Karl-Anthony Towns. And the Raptors found that out pretty early. They started Jonathan Mogbo in this game at center as an undersized center, thinking maybe they would be able to sort of run the Knicks up and down the court. The Knicks are not a good defensive team, but they are a great offensive team, and they have a great couple of offensive players. And at least one of those great offensive players had a great offensive game tonight, and that was Karl-Anthony Towns. One of them, who averages 25 points per game, did not. And that was Jalen Brunson. But they didn't need Jalen Brunson because they had Cameron Payne and they had OG Anunoby, who couldn't miss a single shot. And the Toronto Raptors gave possibly one of the most lifeless, disgusting efforts on defense. And it was an embarrassment. To just hone in on the human element of this, you're going to see a 14-point loss. Trust me, this was much worse than a 14-point loss. Okay. It became a 14-point loss late because the Knicks sort of stepped off the pedal. This was easily heading towards a 35 to 40-point blowout. And that's what it felt like. Okay. And yeah, Scottie Barnes had a bit of a bounce back game, but I thought he was atrocious defensively. Is he injured? Of course he's injured. Is somebody going to make a little bit of a claim? We'll make that comment that I had flashed up there. That's why this live started late, because I was actually very, very curious to see what was being said about everything. And you know that old charge about who's poisoning the well? I think I just found out who's poisoning the well. Okay, so 125 to 139. You know, you came into this game, I think you were 13.5-point underdogs, and you lose the game by 14. Does Vegas know, or does Vegas know? Okay, the Raptors were not supposed to be competitive in this game. They did get some good news ahead of the opening buzzer that RJ Barrett, who was throwing up yesterday, decided, hey, if Scottie can go, I'll go too. And it was a mixed bag for RJ. He got to the line relentlessly. I think his decision making was all right. His defensive effort was not, but he was not alone. Tonight, he was not alone. There's a couple of players that really stuck out defensively as good things for me overall, but for the vast majority of this game, it was disinterested. It was miscommunicated. There's a ton of film we're going to look at. It was an embarrassing effort defensively, and this is not the mood. This is not the vibe. This is not what you want to go into the Christmas break with, because Lord knows the Raptors are not playing tomorrow or on Christmas Day. They got to go and wake up their families. They got to open their Christmas presents with this game tattooed on their brain. That sucks, man. That sucks. At least be halfway competitive defensively, right? The Knicks are a great defensive team. They have the personnel to whoop you, even with their second unit. But some of the miscommunications that the Raptors made tonight, Kelly Olynyk was an embarrassment to basketball today. Is a little bit of awful coaching rubbing off on me right now, where I'm about to call Kelly Olynyk a terrorist? Yo, I understand Kelly Olynyk is a little bit older and a little bit slower, and I understand the Raptors have a high pickup point on defense, but you can't be this bad. Karl-Anthony Towns is way better than Kelly Olynyk. I get that. I'm not stupid. I understand. But there's just no chance that you're giving yourself when you close out that recklessly. Okay? It's just bad. Okay? Now, what wasn't so bad? Okay, Scottie's defense was bad tonight. Really bad. I did not like it at all. But what was good for Scottie was he made some jumpers. He didn't make any threes. He went 0 for 3 from 3. But unlike last night, where I think he went 0 for 8 or 0 for 10, he didn't keep launching them. He actually got into the mid post. He got into that turnaround. He got into his shake, shimmy, turnaround bag. And I liked it. I liked that. It was a nice change. There were a lot of turnovers. Let's not be crazy now. But in a game that you frankly got blown out, Scottie and RJ were -2 and -1. You really lost this game playing your rookies. Davion Mitchell, who played 12 minutes, was -18. He played in place of Jamal Shead, who unfortunately was an early scratch or a late scratch in this game. I believe he had a contusion, or I can't remember exactly what happened, but he did not dress for this game. And unfortunately, that meant Davion Mitchell was going to get some minutes. Now, Davion is in the doghouse effectively. He was getting a lot more minutes earlier, but so far, he has been usurped if you're just looking at the minutes breakdown, he's been passed by virtually everyone in the rotation. He had the fewest number of minutes on a team that is depleted by injuries. It required Jamal Shead, Emmanuel Quickly, Bruce Brown, and Jakob Poeltl being out, and he managed 12 minutes in a blowout. That does not bode well for any prognosis or any thoughts that Davion Mitchell is a part of the long-term future. I'm just going to say that. However, credit where credit is due. He made his lone three. Davion's at a heater shooting from three. It's on very low volume, but I can't remember the last time Davion Mitchell missed a three. Am I lying on that one? He's just making everything, which is great. So maybe some more minutes for Davion, boost up the trade value, boost up that, but 5 points, 3 assists, but -18. The team just didn't look organized with him. The defense didn't look organized with him. And I'm not saying he was bad defensively. He just wasn't the overwhelming positive he needs to be. Chris Boucher had 16 points on 5 for 6. He was a big part of some of the defensive problems. But offensively, he and Kelly Olynyk, as many issues that I had with Kelly Olynyk tonight, and the moments that stick out in my mind in those 18 minutes are so bad, he was +7. Boucher was +5. It's funny. That's why plus minus doesn't tell the full story. I don't think Jonathan Mogbo had a great game at all. At all. He was very invisible for the most part. No offensive rebounds for Jonathan Mogbo is very uncharacteristic in 23 minutes. However, one player who really stuck out in a really positive way was Ja'Kobe Walter again. And he was -19 in 25 minutes, but he had 16 points and he got to the line 10 times. 4 for 5 from three. The only shot he missed tonight was from three. But the hustle. The hustle. Oak Tree saying, but Rob, aren't you pointing out Davion Mitchell negatively again? Am I? No. He's good. He's making all his threes. Remember? That's the positive spin. No. He's good. He was fine. But I'm just telling you, this is how the Raptors feel at this point, right? I mean, you got a guy in a contract here. You haven't handed him an extension, and he's the third string point guard right now, playing behind a rookie who's not playing all that well. And it's not like he's playing behind a lottery pick. He's playing behind a 45th overall pick who's not having a great year and has some of the similar issues as he has. Clearly, the Raptors understand what the future of the backup point guard spot is. Okay. Davion is great. Please trade him. You sort of negate the great with the please trade him. Why don't you just say, please don't trade him? Please, Lord, please don't trade Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell is great. Come on, man. All right. Ja'Kobe is silk. I 100% agree. This dude is balling out of his mind right now. I don't give a shit about the +19, -19, whatever. I don't think the team played very well around him, but he attacked relentlessly. He played with force. I mean, did y'all watch the video we posted yesterday of Ja'Kobe Walter and his post game? And he talked about the fouls and how, as a rookie, he's not going to get necessarily the benefit of the doubt from the referees. But then he immediately followed that up by saying he has to be better. He has to be more disciplined. He shouldn't have made that mistake. That tells you everything you need to know about Ja'Kobe Walter. On the one hand, he's realistic. He understands as a rookie, he's not going to get calls. He's not delusional and he's not stupid. On the other hand, he's accountable because he knows he has to be better. And he does. And he will be. I am so positive about this kid, morphing into a perma starter for the Raptors. I think you have something very, very special here. Grady Dick did not start out well, but 16 points nonetheless. Got to the line, made a couple threes. All in all, pretty okay. Ochai Agbaji, pretty invisible tonight. Didn't love his defense. Didn't love his offense. And he and Jonathan Mogbo are supposed to be positive defenders in this lineup. You cannot float a lineup with RJ Barrett and Grady Dick, and those two do not become overwhelming positives. And Scottie Barnes is the best defender in that lineup, and he wasn't a good defender tonight. So if your best defender is not a good defender, you know what happens? This is what happens. The Knicks shot 60% from the field, 59.3. I was rounding up. They shot 45.9% from three. And trust me, so many of those threes were open, uncontested, late contest. There was a play from Deuce McBride where Chris Boucher is funneling back in transition, and he sinks to the paint, and just Davion just kind of like flies past Deuce McBride, and it's just like, yo, transition, guard the guy with the basketball. Like, what are we doing here? He's a dangerous 3-point shooter, right? Like, this is not a non-shooter. We're not talking about Jamal Shead, right? We're not talking about Scottie Barnes. We're talking about Deuce McBride. Okay, and it's not, no offense to Scottie Barnes, and I'm just saying, like, there are certain players. Like, there was a play tonight where Scottie saw Precious Achua and he just waved him off from three. I don't really have an issue with that. Your ankle's bummed. You don't want to close out to the shooter. Fine. It's Precious Achua. I'll live with those percentages 10 times out of 10. Shit. People did that to Scottie in his second year all the time. Y'all remember that? Aggressive drop coverage. Miles Turner literally waving him off and saying, shoot them. And that's exactly what Scottie did tonight to Precious Achua. And frankly, that's what a lot of the league is going to keep doing to him if he keeps missing his threes. Because Scottie's, I think, 0 for from three the last two games. Like, he hasn't made a single three. So, tough times for Scottie Barnes shooting all season so far. He has not shot well this season. I believe he is a much better shooter than he has shown so far. OG Anunoby with 31 points. The Kawhi prophecy coming true. OG Anunoby was unstoppable tonight, but you know what? Part of it was the Raptors made him look unstoppable. Karl-Anthony Towns was truly unstoppable tonight. 31 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Best center in the Eastern Conference? Yeah, sure, because Joel Embiid was ejected for trying to fight a referee. So, yeah, I'll take Karl-Anthony Towns right now. Jalen Brunson, again, cold. I think he went 0 for in the first half, got it going in the second half. A lot of easy plays. I don't understand what the Raptors were doing with his coverage, but he was just cold tonight, man. 4 for 13, 4 for 8 from the free throw line. When's the last time you've seen that with Jalen Brunson? Josh Hart, defensively, I didn't love the game from Josh Hart. I think Scottie just cooked him on the block quite a few times. Mikal Bridges, I don't love his defensive game, but again, the Knicks win, man. The Knicks win. Their unsung hero tonight is definitely Cameron Payne. Ironically, 19 points, 15 minutes. OG Anunoby, 31 points in 34 minutes, both ex-Raptors. Go figure. Both ex-Raptors. And, in typical Tom Thibodeau fashion, he pretty much waits till the very, very last minute to pull his starters, and Jericho Sims gets a whopping 3 minutes. Jacob Toppin and Landry Shamet, coming off an injury, just re-signed with the team, and Tyler Kolek get 1 minute apiece. The Raptors, they pulled their starters a little bit sooner. So they got AJ Lawson in for his Raptors debut. He hit his only 3. That was pretty awesome. He was +5. Ulrich Chomche, Ulrich Chomche gets into the game. He grabs 1 rebound, 0 points, doesn't take a single shot, but he looked active out there. And you know what I really liked about that third string unit? That third string unit, which was Jacoby Walter. It was, Jacoby Walter, Jonathan Mogbo, AJ Lawson, Jamison Battle, and Ulrich Chomche. I believe that was the unit. You know what I liked about that unit? They forced back-to-back shot clock violations, and they showed more heart and hustle in those 2 possessions than the Raptors played with the entire night. And part of it was because Ulrich is actually a decent rim protector. He's a pretty decent rim protector. Yeah, he picked up 1 foul. Sure, it was a cheap foul. But overall, he contests the paint. I don't think we're that far away from, is Ulrich actually like a guy who needs to get like 12, 15 minutes a night just to see what's up? If he can just be low usage, low turnover, and he's not picking 5 offensive fouls up a game, I think you got to try it. I mean, I've been impressed with the few minutes he's gotten. I understand there's a longer term vision here, but shit, man, you don't have any rim protection. You're playing Scottie Barnes at center on 1 ankle. I think you might just want to look at this. If you want to look at the game, Kaz, it was a 32-32, and then the Knicks just broke it open. I think Scottie went to the bench. RJ and Scottie went to the bench at the same time. Right there. RJ makes a 2-point shot, 32-30. Darko's like, all right, tank, initiate, and then boom, 59-40. And it's like, okay, I guess, good luck coming back from a 19-point lead. And, you knew there was going to be no second half comeback. The Raptors got in late to New York. They were not going to come back from this game. And the Knicks were fresh. The Raptors were not. The Raptors played, a back-to-back, tough back-to-back. Houston, New York. I mean, this is a schedule loss. Everyone knew this was going to be a loss. I could have told you this was going to be a loss 3 months ago. This was never going to be good. Okay, let's look at some plays and we'll take some callers. Please, by all means, call in. I don't have a lot to say about Scottie Barnes, but I will have something to say right after we get through the film breakdown. Okie doke. Okay. So this was an assist from Scottie Barnes, which I really liked. It was a tough assist. And here he gets through OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. You'll see, what was awful coaching always saying, like, you need to funnel towards the help, right? Okay, well, here, this is 3 Knicks defenders, and Scottie is just going to push through. And Scottie's not John Morant. And I'm not trying to be rude. Scottie's not Jalen Green when it comes to off the dribble. And these defenders are better than any defenders that the Toronto Raptors have. And Scottie just completely shreds it. When I tell you offense has an advantage in the NBA, I'm not joking. So here, and Jacoby very intelligently is going to notice that Josh Hart is now going to help. And that is going to open up. So how many defenders, count them out. How many defenders does Scottie suck up in this play? 1, 2, 3, gets through the 2, takes the 4th, and then makes this pass to Jacoby Walter. And of course, Karl-Anthony Towns is completely hopeless and an embarrassment on defense. So he's going to do that. But speaking of embarrassments on defense, what is up with the Raptors basketball IQ? Watch this entire transition play. Now, Deuce McBride has the basketball. Everyone has their head back. Davion Mitchell, you are not going to get back into this play to stop Deuce McBride. So this is where Chris Boucher is the only chance at all of stopping this. But defensive IQ. Who are you guarding? Who are you guarding, Chris Boucher? And how do you not know the scouting report on your matchup that this dude is a pull-up merchant? He's going to make the shot. Like, as I'm watching this in real time, I'm like, how can you give him this shot? And, Davion with the analytics contest, right? Like, hey, I was there, but it's like, you're not there. At least rear contest it. If you see he's going into the shot, you're the best defender in the league or one of the best defenders in the league in your mind, you got to offer more than just a wave by. Someone's got to do something about this because that was way too easy. Okay? That's just way too easy. Okay. Now, I have gotten around my Davion criticism by just complimenting the player he's playing against. This is my, y'all know I'm not very political, right? Y'all know I don't have a filter, right? Y'all know I just say whatever the call comes to my mind and deal with the consequences after, right? So this is me being political by saying persistent pursuit here by McBride. See, I can learn. I know how to be political. This is my political speech. This is a persistent pursuit. See, two weeks ago, I would have told you this was a dumbass pass. But right now, I'm gonna credit the defender because that makes me not sound like a hater and it does not trigger the algorithm. So here's Deuce McBride. And there's the pass. Beautiful. 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 Except when it comes to Scottie. Don't get me started. What do you want to talk about with Scottie? What do you got to say? What do you want to say? I said his defense was awful. What do you want from me? You want me to say his offense was awful too? I don't think he was great either. I like that he hit some turnaround mid-range jump shots. This in the pantheon or in the Hall of Fame of Scottie Barnes games, this game doesn't hold a candle. Okay. Jumper is broke. Okay, cool. I don't think his jumper is broken at all. Okay. How can you not love Jacoby Walter? This is my play of the night right here. My favorite play of the night. Look at the pursuit. 21-18. Ah, this is awesome. This is awesome. And you know what's even better? To wiggle this away from Deuce McBride, who is a very good defender, and get this to RJ. And you know what? I was positive this was going to be a miss, but then I realized who it was up against. The Knicks are awful contesting at the rim, man. The rim is just open. All right. Now, let me tell you something. This was a foul. Okay? But there's certain things you notice. You just notice about a player. Now, this is Karl-Anthony Towns looking like he's about to go to a buffet. And this is Jacoby Walter, all 180 pounds of him. And he is going to make sure to wrap up Karl-Anthony Towns so that he does not get the and one and go right through him. Yo! This dude is a dog. This is a dog. This is a dog. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say to you, but when you play on a tanking team, the first thing that goes is defense and putting your body on the line. And this dude put his body on the line recklessly every single time he could tonight. He's a dog. That's what he is. You want to describe Jacoby Walter in one word? Dog is the word. This is crazy. Just watch this. You got to understand, in order to rip a basketball player as strong and as good as Karl-Anthony Towns takes a lot of force. And this is like, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude when I say this. This is like a grade 6 kid trying to rip a varsity player. That's the strength gap here. Karl-Anthony Towns is a beast. Scottie had trouble with him. Mogbo had trouble with him. So 180-pound Jonathan Mogbo is showing me, Jacoby Walter is showing me heart when he gives this hard foul. The NBA is missing fouls like this. Also, that doesn't just show heart. That shows anticipation. That shows hand-eye coordination. That also shows timing, defensive IQ. You need these types of players. You need players who actually map the court correctly. Now, this is me persistently talking shit about Scottie, talking shit about people who talk shit about Scottie Barnes yesterday. Yo, jump shot's broken, huh? Okay, cool. Here, Mikal Bridges, Deuce McBride's right there. Karl-Anthony Towns right there. I guess his jump shot's broken, huh? Okay. And the very next play, as a close contest to one of my favorite plays of the night, was this one, where Scottie Barnes is going to guard Karl-Anthony Towns. Shot clock down. Quarter coming to an end. Raptors coaching staff, there's Pat Delaney right there, second over from the right. There's a gap there where Darko Rajakovic usually sits. Pat Delaney's just watching, and he's like, I invented this great defense that Scottie Barnes is playing. No, this was just heart, and it was an air ball, and it was beautiful. It was a good note to end the quarter on that. I think this was the end of the first quarter where they ended it, and they pretty much sold the game from the first quarter onward. But hey, you stayed in this game in the first quarter. My caption is, welcome back, Kawhi. Okay, this is over a 7-footer. If his jump shot's so broken, why is it going in? Okay, here, pump fake, pass fake, one step, dribble, boom. And I said, welcome back, Kawhi. Yeah, on a bum ankle. You know, the thing with ankle and hip injuries typically is that your jump shot's going to be short a lot. And I'm really, really happy that Vince brought that up. One of the things I tried after I busted my ankle was I tried to shoot jumpers because I wanted to see what athletes go through, because I had never sustained an ankle injury before. And the first thing I did was I airballed a shot that I've been making my whole life. It's a massive adjustment to play through an injury. Everything about your body is different, especially when you yourself are not a great shooter. This play was awesome. Josh Hart's not a great defender, but he's not a bad defender. And this is not bad defense. This is decent defense. He doesn't contest last minute. Scottie gets a lot of room based on the size. I believe there's a foul there because Scottie's looking for a foul. Is there a foul there? Feels the defender going one way, goes the other way. He does touch his leg, and he still makes it. Dude, that's a really impressive shot. And I say the Scottie mid-range, I mean, this is an open mid-range shot. Like where am I at as a Scottie Barnes fan if this is the shot that I'm gassing? But if you think that his jump shot is broken, like you can see he's getting like a little bit more follow through and a little bit more extension on this jump shot because clearly all of his jumpers have been falling flat and short. So, good for him. Now look at this. This is where I say court mapping and processing is not for everybody. Okay. There are not a lot of players who are going to successfully see, like, look at where this play is right now. Scottie has already mapped the entire floor. He understands the difference between Ochai Baji's speed, Jalen Brunson's speed. He understands where OG and Precious are. He knows that if he's going to make this pass to Ochai, he's going to have to pass it through all three defenders. So the second RJ gives him this basketball, it's actually quite a complicated pass that he's going to make here because of the time that he takes to make it. Now, watch this. Now, he can't throw it right now because the gap isn't open. Ochai Agbaji has to create this gap, and Scottie has to keep this gap. This is all spacing is about. Now, Scottie sees Ochai here, and he maps the gap between Ochai and Jalen Brunson, knowing that at some point, if Ochai continues to run, he is going to, and of course, Precious Achua and OG Anunoby are loading up on Scottie Barnes, which means there's an imbalance on the other side. If the two best defenders are on you, that means somebody's open somewhere else, right? So this is when I say, the play yesterday that we broke down with awful coaching, where it was just like, how can you let Jalen Green, how can you open your hips and allow Jalen Green to go towards the weak side? And it's just like, dude, like, you're not going to be able to make that snap decision in real time. Very special people can make a decision like this in real time. And this is what Scottie's going to do. He is going to see this play, and Ochai is going to see this play before OG Anunoby and Precious Achua and Jalen Brunson can do anything about it. And I don't remember who the backline, defender here is, but it's probably Carlton Towns. And here's this pass. A perfect pass. Josh Hart is not going to get there in time. And Scottie threw it. It is the perfect transition play. Again, watch that again one more time. With everything in mind, in terms of like where you are. Hold on one second. Oh, sorry about that. The gap is open. It's open. Boom. That, it has to go here. It has to go here. If it doesn't go here, OG's picking this off. Precious is recovering. You've already projected it. The window will close. Josh Hart will recover. The gap will close. There's only this moment. Play the music. I wish I could, but it will give me a copyright, so I don't want to. I don't feel like losing $10 or $20 or whatever this video is going to generate. Okay. Paint to great. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And this was, Scottie once again, collapsed 3 defenders, 4 defenders, and then boom, pass out to RJ. RJ with the correct read to Grady Dick. The Knicks miscommunicate this. OG is late, and Grady is going to make one of his 2 threes tonight. I thought it was a great decision by RJ Barrett. Nice little soup by Scottie Barnes, following in the footsteps of Garrett Temple. Okay, this is a Davion Mitchell play in transition, and I don't think it's a bad one. Okay, let's see here. So this is Davion going in transition. Scottie passes up to him, and Jonathan Mogbo clears out Jalen Brunson. I remember this one. This is the Jameson Battle dunk. And then Davion, his best play of the night is a mistake. Okay, I'm not trying to be rude here, but you're open. That's a layup. You need to go for that layup. Like, I will never hold it against you if you miss this layup. But there's like collapse in front of you. This is like a pull-up jumper. That's a positive spin on it. He is so unselfish. I'm just saying, in most situations, this is going to be a mistake. But I appreciate the fact that he set him up for this. And I'm not even gassing up that dunk too much, but I don't really know Jameson Battle had those kind of hops. I think he measured with a 28-inch vertical, but when you're 6'7", 28-inch vertical can get you a dunk like that. So it was cool for Jameson Battle to have a dunk like that. I'll tell you, for most American kids, it is a pretty big deal to play at Madison Square Garden. I don't know, maybe for most people in the world, it's a pretty big deal to play Madison Square Garden. Yo, the Raptors defense is so ass here. Okay. So I'm going to say this is on Scottie. Because if RJ is committing to the double team here, then Deuce McBride's on him. But I apologize. My coughing continues. Like, how do you allow this? If you're Scottie and RJ, how do you allow this? I understand the game's out of control and you're getting blown out, but this is just ridiculous. Scottie's better than this. Like, Scottie is way better than this. You can't get beat. You cannot get beat backdoor like this. This is crazy. Like, I understand Jakob Poeltl's not in the game, but frankly, Jakob Poeltl gets beat like this all the time too. And you know, when we talk about the impact of a stretch big, when I'm always talking about how the Raptors are sort of losing something by not having a stretch big, by always having Jakob Poeltl, look at how tightly Kelly Olynyk has to guard. Not that Kelly Olynyk's a good rim protector, but whoever the 5-man is, look at how tightly they have to guard a guy like Carlton Towns. Now, Cat is a good passer. I think it's one of the most underrated qualities about him. He's a really good passer. So because he's a good passer, he is able to do that Marc Gasol thing, not on defense, but on offense, but on the very high level because of his scoring gravity and his shooting gravity. Those pockets are so much larger. The gaps are so much larger with him that he is genuinely able to shred you apart. Very Jokic-esque, very Marc Gasol-esque, because right here, all he has to do, like, there's so many options here. There's so many options, right? You can pass it to Mikal Bridges, who would inevitably collapse Grady Dick and then kick it out to Campaign. Like, there's just, when you have defensive liability, I mean, but this is the worst. Like, this is the worst possible. Like, what is the thought process here between Scottie Barnes and RJ Barrett? And even with RJ, this is when I say defensive mapping. Like where is the help? Why do you need help? This is a basic play. Ugh. Crazy. Okay. This was the last play for the starters, right? Now, at this point, Darko is continuing to play his starters, second night of a back-to-back. And here is, okay, cool. Scottie Barnes is communicating that he wants to push. He wants to close off, and he wants to push Jalen Brunson into the middle, which is where, again, yesterday, when we were talking to AC, we're talking to awful coaching. This is what AC wants him to do. He wants him to send him middle, right? He wants him to send him towards the help. But this is the help. The help is fucking useless. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's useless. When you are talking about a dynamic star guard like Jalen Brunson, the help is useless when the help is not good. It doesn't matter. You can, right now, if Scottie Barnes allows Jalen Brunson to go the other way and Jalen Brunson pulls up for 3, I'll guarantee you there's some, person out there who's breaking down this video saying, why didn't he send him middle? And it's like, okay, so now he sends him middle. Now what? Boom. Accelerator, decelerator, accelerator, boom. Lucky you didn't get an and one on that. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you just don't, God, this team is so ass defensively sometimes. It really makes me mad. Okay. Pull this off. Let's talk about it. Okay. Y'all want to call in? Call in. Did you guys watch the panel today? I think I was on a good flow today on the panel. It talked about a lot of stuff that I've talked about on this channel. Johnny A, thank you. Thank you very, very much for your super chat. Tip of the hat for all the great work in community. What do you think Jacoby's stealing is? Spreewell, Eddie Jones? Did you hear me say that? Because those are literally two players that I think about a lot when I think about Jacoby Walter. That's me dreaming, though. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, that's me dreaming. I want that to be true so badly for him. But it's not an unrealistic dream. It's a realistic dream. It's an ambitious dream, but it's realistic. It's perfectly doable. He can be much better, right? Raven saying, how do we call in, bro? So there's a link in the description under call in. So it says call in and it gives you a link. So I'm going to post the link right here in the chat for you as well to make it a little bit easier for you. But just for future reference to anybody who wants to call in, maybe, I mean, I would love to hear from more people. It always makes the show a little bit more lively. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it, actually. So the first thing you do is you click on that link, the StreamYard link. Okay. Can I show you guys like how to do it? Will that make it easier for you, do you think? Okay. Let me show you what I mean. This is going to be very meta, but give me 1 second here. To anyone who hasn't called in and it's just like, hey, what's the StreamYard thing? Is it easy? It's very easy. You can call in from your phone as long as you have a pretty good connection. Okay. So I'm going to show you the back end of my StreamYard. Okay. So if I wanted to, so you're not going to get this link. You're going to get this link. And then you click here, entering the studio, right? And then it allows you to enter the studio, pick your microphone, just make sure you're in a quiet place, right? And you just enter the studio and you'll show up in the lobby and I'll pull you up. It's very, very easy. So all you got to do is click a link. And if you're on, I think if you're on a Mac, Safari is good. No, I don't think Safari is good. Chrome, Firefox. If you have one of those two browsers, that'll be fine. So this is very meta. I'm watching myself. It's very weird. But hopefully that helps somebody who wants to call in. It's very easy. It's very easy. Okay. I will tell you something. I do not like Ben Mathurin as a basketball player. I like Jacoby Walter a lot. So I like Jacoby a lot more than Ben Mathurin. If the Pacers offered me Ben Mathurin for Jacoby Walter, no offense, I would say no. I understand that one of those players is considered a better offensive prospect, but I'll take the two-way prospect 10 times out of 10. Abid Azam saying, if you were Darko, how would you make RJ, Grady Dick better defenders? Development has to be on both sides of the basketball. So here's the thing. I wouldn't call myself a cynic, but I'm pretty realistic. I don't believe that players just morph into good defenders. I believe that playing defense at the NBA level. Give me 1 second. Let me just drink some hot chocolate here. It's Christmas time, so we got the hot chocolate. Thanks to my girlfriend for doing that for me. I have a bit of a sore throat, so yeah. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that you're gonna make either of these guys really good defenders. I think some part of the defense is court mapping. I think it's a really big part of defense. Just to be clear. Ooh, damn. That's a really good question, and I'm gonna be a Jacoby loyalist, and I'm gonna say I prefer Jacoby, but I know who's more talented. I know who's more athletic. I know who's further ahead. I know who projects to have the higher upside, but I just trust Jacoby, man. I don't know what it is about that kid. I've learned so much about him. You don't have any idea. There's a reason why I'm making videos about him and posting about him all the time. I learned a lot about him over the last four or 5 months. And the more I learned about him, the more I loved him. So, it's very difficult to get me to give up on a prospect that I really, believe in. And I don't believe in Shade and Sharp that way. If you ask me right now who's going to be a better player in 3 years, I I would be lying if I told you that I think definitively that Jacoby's going to be the better player. But I trust him to become whoever he's going to become more than I trust Shaden Sharp to become who he's going to become, if that makes sense, right? I'm not trying to gas up a Raptors player. I'm really not. It drives me crazy when people overrate our prospects and maybe gas them up, right? Like, oh, I would never trade so and so for Herb Jones. It's like you're an absolute idiot. That's why you wouldn't. But I understand that people have particular sentiments and attachments to certain players. Jacoby's 20. He is 20 years old, and the consistent body of work tells me that this dude is going to get better and better. It tells me that he projects as a two-way upside guy. The fact that he's able to get to the line 10 times as easily as he is, the fact that he's following up a good game last night with a good game again. I mean, you realize he scored 16 points tonight? He scored 27 points last night. I mean, damn, a couple more shots, he could have scored 50 in 2 games. No. Why do I want LeBron? Why do I want LeBron right now? Yeah, I mean, like for a marketing perspective, yeah, but then I get to take all the drama. Does Bronny James come with him? If so, no, thank you. Jeez. No. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this. Okay. So in terms of what the Raptors are doing and all that stuff, the big picture stuff, obviously another loss, right? Another loss, another tank loss, right? You get a competitive tank loss. Let's take a look at, there's 13 games on in the NBA. Let's see if any other tanking teams lost tonight, because that would be an early Christmas present. Let me just give you 1 second. Let's just see what happened around the league and what is currently happening around the league. Denver is up against Phoenix. I think there are injuries at play there. Indiana is beating Golden State. Cool. Detroit, Cade Cunningham has been on a bit of a heater. Was very curious to see what would happen with Detroit and the Lakers, and they are ahead. Houston was blowing the shit out of Charlotte by like 25 points in the first half. Nice to see the Charlotte close the gap to 13, kind of a fake comeback, if you will. Cleveland, Utah was damn close, right down to the end. Orlando surprisingly beats Boston. Boston shot horribly from three. Philadelphia beat San Antonio despite losing Joel Embiid in the first half, where he just went out and lost his goddamn mind. Atlanta beats Minnesota. That is wild, but Atlanta was at home and Atlanta is in the East, so that helps you. Miami beats Brooklyn. Miami is a playing team. Brooklyn is a tanking team right now, so that kind of helps you as well. I would say that helps you. In a sense, it helps you, right? Dallas is beating the shit out of Portland. OKC is beating the shit out of Washington. Neither one of those two things are surprising at all, or has beaten the shit out of those teams. So at this point, your tank odds haven't moved too much. What has moved in a positive direction, at least, is Atlanta and Miami get one up on you. Philadelphia gets one up on you, and the rest of the teams get one down. Make sense? If that makes sense, right? I mean, that's a perfectly sensible take, right? If you look at it from that perspective, I don't know if Tankathon would update their if they would update their odds. Oh, the Raptors moves up to third. Yay. Utah losers. Okay, so the Raptors loss moves them to third. Is this what we came for? Oh man, tankathon every night. Is this what the season's going to be like? That's pretty depressing. No. Okay. Well, anyways, it helps to move up. I don't think you're going to stay here at all, but nevertheless, it does help to move up. Let's talk about something. No, hell no. I would not take. I know that I sound like all the people, who boost up their own players and they say, I wouldn't take Anthony Edwards for Cade Cunningham, says, signed sincerely depressed Pistons fan. I know I sound like that when I'm talking about Jacoby, and sometimes when I'm talking about Scottie, maybe sometimes when I'm talking about Jamal Shead. I talked to a lot. I talked to a couple of scouts, a couple of weeks ago that were just convinced as hell based on how Jamal was playing that he's not going to be in the league in 2 years. And I kept telling them, you don't know what this guy's heart is like, and scouts don't like to talk in heart. Philosophers like to talk in heart. I mean, psychologists, armchair psychologists like to talk in heart. But I've always believed in taking the whole picture. Like I believe in trusting athletes and trying to understand who they are as people and trying to understand what makes them tick and trying to understand just what they're trying to do with their lives, with their basketball lives, how seriously they are taking it. And I try to apply everything that I've learned in life to prospect evaluation. And sometimes it misfires very badly, because I'll tell you one player who passed you know, all my tests, which was Jabari Smith, and it just hasn't worked out as well as I thought it would. Scoot Henderson passed my tests with flying colors, and it hasn't worked out well. But sometimes, and most times, it does work out pretty well. So, yeah, I think overall, if you're looking at this from the perspective of what can Jacoby become, I think that's an exciting topic around Raptors land. I think he can become a very productive, very portable starter. That could be a future core piece, maybe. He's shifty, he's athletic, he's great laterally, he's going to get stronger, he's a good shooter. He has all the foundations to be very, very good. Even if you think he's a little bit undersized, he's not undersized as a guard. He has a 6'10", a 6'11" wingspan. He plays a lot bigger than he is. So he's got the exact same metrics as Dwayne Wade. Exact. Actually, he's a little bit bigger He's a little bit bigger version of Dwayne Wade. That's perfectly fine for a two guard in the NBA. He can competently switch out to threes and ones. He's got that shifty burst. He's really low to the ground. I love his game. It's just a really smooth game. But most importantly, I just love how he sees the game. I like how he attacks the game. He has a great motor. I like this comment by Chosen right here. He has a good motor. I agree. We don't have a prize for dummy of the day, but if we did, I would award you this, man. I'm not even trying to be rude, but like, whoa, what the fuck are we talking about? Jalen Green is ass. Jalen Green is ass. Jalen Green is so bad. Okay, he's a very talented, very athletic, very smooth operating ass basketball player. Does not help you win basketball games right now. Does not help you win basketball games. The fact that he's getting $33 million to be what the 120th best basketball player in the world right now, it's crazy. Now, if you want to compare him to Scottie Barnes, go right ahead. Maybe, it's funny. I was thinking about the psychological profile of people who don't appreciate Scottie's game, and I feel most of them would probably have this question too. So maybe it's just an eye test thing. Maybe it's a vibe thing. Oh Lord, Jacoby easily, bro. I don't value what Jalen Green does. Like I just don't. Like I understand he's a shot maker, but when you are so ass defensively, you're so inefficient. Jalen Green does the one thing. He doesn't have the wingspan defensively. He doesn't have the foot speed defensively. He doesn't have the strength defensively. He's not really getting stronger. I understand there are moments with Jalen Green where he's like a 30-point per game scorer and he looks great. But I think you understand that I don't value that type of player very much unless it comes in a two-way package. You know what I mean? Like you have to defend. You have to rebound. You have to be a good court processor defensively and offensively. Otherwise, what are we doing? We're just trading buckets. I give up 2 points, you get 2 points back. I give up 2 points, you give 2 points back. What is the end result of that? It's zero. It's net zero. If you give up 30 points defensively and you get me 30 points offensively, what have you done? You've done nothing for me. I believe that Jalen Green is the more talented player. I believe Shaden Sharp is the more talented player, just like I believe Ben Mathurin is the more talented player. But talent doesn't always win out because Pascal Siakam is the more talented player between him and OG Anunoby. But OG Anunoby is the more valuable player, in my opinion, in most contexts. Yeah, that's what it is. Anyways, there was, give me W in the chat if you ended up watching the entire exchange between me and Awful Coaching. It's been a cool it's been cool to see people responding to that video. I obviously had a lot of hostile energy towards him initially. I made that video reacting to him and I had to watch that back and I'm like, I come off as a bit of an asshole here, but I really just took an issue with someone calling, one of my favorite coaches and the coach for my current team mentally challenged or whatever he said. But it was really cool that he came on and I respect the fact that, anyone takes time to do that. It's a gift. It is a gift. It's a discussion. We called him out. He called out the Raptors. We called him out. He came on. That's a win for the community, man. That's a win for the community. Now his, maybe 5% of the people that watched his original video are going to come back and watch the follow-up video and they're going to have some questions about it. And that's all we want to do. Okay. That's all we want to do. Daryl saying, I think you presented your side really well. It's all about context. Yeah, it wasn't a pissing match. I mean, and I'm really glad it didn't devolve into one. And I know a lot of people kept saying like, hey, AC has you on mute. He's not really listening. I don't think you understand that, with StreamYard, there's an echo element, right? So you have to be wearing headphones. Otherwise, I'm going to hear myself on your end. So sometimes you have to mute unmute, mute, unmute. And when you're just going on a rant, sometimes you just mute, right? Especially if the clip that you're playing on your computer, because he couldn't figure out the screen share, is creating sound, right? So I mean, it was 3 a.m. I'm not. I don't think it was. I don't think it was disrespectful or rude. I didn't interpret that. So you'll notice that if you made some comment saying like, "Hey, he's not listening to you. He's really rude. He's not listening. He just wants to hear his own voice." I didn't like your comment or love your comment because I'm just choosing to be respectful that somebody took the time to do this. Who am I? I mean, honestly, who am I? I'm not a huge content creator. I'm a Raptors content creator. We have 11,800 subscribers. I don't believe anybody owes me anything. If I call out a bigger content creator, they have no obligation. Blake Murphy had no obligation to come on. Will Liu has no obligation to come on. We'll talk about Will Liu, though. We will. So some of y'all asked, why did this live start a little bit late? Sometimes the live start a little bit late because I want to give 10 minutes, to the other podcasts to get rolling, right? Because sometimes people just have 10 minutes, and very often, so initially, well, y'all, so I'm going to open the fourth wall. I'm going to break the fourth wall and just let y'all know what my thinking was. And I think I've let y'all know before that we faced some fierce competition from a new podcast called Hello and Welcome. Will Liu, Alex Wong, the media conglomerates, like they have everybody. Like they can get access to Matt Devlin, they can get access to players, they can bring everybody on their podcast. So there's obviously a lot more money pumping in behind that. I believe there's more love pumping into this one, but that's just my bias. So initially, when they started doing post game reactions, I thought, shoot, like if I start when there's 500 people already in their chat, I'm really missing out. So every day I was trying to do the post game reacts sooner so that I could map it so that when they start, I start, or at least I'm starting before them so that I'm not losing those 400 or 500 views. After a while, I talked it over with a friend of mine who's a content creator, and he said, Rob, I've known you for 5 years. You are not a reactionary. Like you're not someone who's like, oh, if they're going to do this, then I'm going to do this too. You just march to your own beat. You're like, hey, 3 a.m. live feels good to me. Boom. I'm going to do a 3 a.m. live. So I decided, I'm like, you know what? I hate doing lives 2 minutes after the game. The instant reaction. Fuck the instant reaction. I need time to simmer. I need time to think. I need time to, drink some water. I need some time to decompress my thoughts. Otherwise, I'm just coming out here and being a clown, and I don't want to be a clown. So sometimes what I do now is I'll allow other people to react instantly. I'll go and listen to the Raptor Spaces with Zazu on X and Twitter, and I'll go listen to Hello and Welcome in first 5 minutes, or if Samson's on there, I'll go listen to that. And today I caught a little bit of it, which was particularly interesting, and it was addressing the Scottie Barnes injury. Now, this is going to become a little bit heated, so I'm gonna give you a fair warning that I'm particularly pissed off about this, and I mean, I said some, my girlfriend and I we were sitting there, and I played it back for her 3 times, and she didn't get it. She's like, what was so wrong about what he said there? And I just played it back 3 times, and I'm like, do you see the dog whistle? Like, do you see the dog whistling that's going on here? I've learned to pay attention to the statement, but I love you, but we got to break up. I love you, but I cheated on you. See, the but is very, very important. Pause. All right. And there was a statement, and I don't want to misquote it, but so I'll summarize it. The gist of it was, I assumed when Darko Rajakovic came out, and I'm actually gonna I'll play the clip what Darko said first. Facts. Shit. Bro, you're funny. Okay. Okay, so here's what Darko Rajakovic had to say about Scottie Barnes last night, and I do think that it was a relevant, post game interview. Wait, did I download it? No, I didn't download it here. Okay, so here we go. Yo, what am I doing here? Sorry, temporary brain fart there. Be patient. Be patient. Be patient. Here we go. So this is what Darko Rajakovic had to say about Scottie Barnes' injury, and he is not a liar. Like I don't appreciate anyone calling him a liar.
So where he goes, I go, I mean, shot the Knicks versus 7 shots for three. It's like you know, really attack we've seen before.
Yeah, as you can see, he's not being himself. He's banged up. He got that hit in his hip the last game, his ankle, and there are a couple of little things that are bothering him. He's still not himself. He'll be better.
His best.
And voila, he was better. He was better. But there was a comment about this comment that really rubbed me the wrong way. Where and y'all are free to I'm giving them free promo. Y'all can go watch it. And the comment was something to the effect of, I thought Darko was just making excuses for him. Like, I'm not calling Darko a liar. And then he followed it up with, I saw him a week and a half ago at Scotiabank Arena and he was in a walking boot, but I thought he was just making excuses for him. And then there was an entire diatribe about how it's really weird that if he's injured, why doesn't he look injured in the second half? Why is he playing so many minutes? So there was this kind of like, if he's injured, is it just an excuse to excuse bad play? And it's frustrating to me when somebody with a media pass says something like this because it's very obvious he's injured, right? I'm not inventing it. He's literally limping. He's not moving normally. He can't close out. I don't know what game you're watching if you don't think he's injured, but you've got to be you've got to be really dumb to not see that he is clearly injured. Him making 10 shots does not mean he's not injured. This is the backwardness of it. Him playing tonight doesn't mean he's not hurt. Him, just like Kyle Lowry playing in 2017, 2016, when he was hurt and shooting, 2 for 12, that didn't mean he wasn't hurt. It's interesting that we had Alvin Williams on the broadcast today. He's a player who played hurt a lot. I remember watching Alvin Williams back when he was at the ACC, and you would see him after a game, and he would be like notably limping after playing a game, ice packs on his knees, and you're like, man, there must be so much pain. But if you're a casual fan, especially in the age of sports betting, you're like, yo, bum didn't hit my parlay. So I understand that there is like a lot of nagging, hurt. Nobody's 100%, midway through a season, no one's 100%. There's aches, there's pains, there's bruises, there's a bone bruise here, whatever. But an ankle injury and a hip injury together is enough to derail most shooters. It really is. And people who want to preserve their numbers typically don't play play through that, especially when there's no reason for them to. And the Raptors cannot force Scottie Barnes to play. He's a franchise player. If he says I'm hurt, then he's hurt. But Scottie always plays through this. He played through injuries through his entire second year. He's just built this way. He's built like a guy who, if he can walk, he'll play. We saw it. But there's two very confusing narratives to me in Raptors land. Narrative number one is he's not really hurt. Actually, there's three confusing narratives. Let me address all of them. Number one, he's not really hurt. That Darko Rajakovic just came out and capped for him, which is absolute bullshit. And tonight I found out where that sentiment is coming from, and I really don't like it. That's a blatant lie. He's clearly injured. You can see he's injured. You can see on defense he's injured. And if you can't see on defense he's injured, quit. Quit covering basketball and cover cricket or cover soccer or cover something that doesn't move as fast as basketball, because clearly your eyes are not catching shit. Because it's crazy to watch him try to move laterally and say he's 100%. Just because he scored 24 or 26 points does not mean that he's not hurt. He is hurt. The second one was that, okay, so the first one is he's not really injured. Darko's covering for a poor performance, et cetera, et cetera. The second one is I desperately, hold on, what was the second narrative? Yeah, he's coming back to preserve his All-NBA bid. Bro, kiss All-NBA goodbye. You're not going to make All-NBA if you're on a lottery team. Like, it's not happening. Your team is 7-22, 7-23. What's the record right now? 7-23. There's not a player in NBA history who has made Uh, I don't think there's a player in NBA history who's made All NBA out of 400 team, much less a 300 team or a 200 team. I mean, where are the Raptors right now in terms of win percentage? 23.3% win percentage. I don't think there's a player in league history that has made All NBA on a 40% win team. Scottie knows this. He's not an idiot. He's come back not to preserve his trade value or his contract value or to secure the bag. He understands this is a massive uphill climb. If I saw a player just gunning for his shot and trying to take 35 shots a game and putting up really big numbers, I might even have a suspicion myself. But knowing Scottie, there's no chance in hell his brain even went there. Like, he's not a money hungry person. You know what I mean? He's smart, but he's not Fred VanVleet. He's not like, oh, give me every last dollar, every last penny. You know, if nothing else, he's probably like, great, more cap flexibility for us to sign better players. You know, like, this is exactly the type of person I believe that is 100% focused on the team, and probably his agent is thinking about this. You know, maybe his agent is thinking about this, but I guarantee you this is not the reason he's playing basketball right now. Not at all. The reason he's playing basketball is because he can, because he enjoys playing basketball, because he wants to play in New York, because he wants to help his team. If he can, he will. And if the Raptors were perfectly healthy, maybe you would have an easier time convincing him to sit. But right now he's going to play through some pain. And he's not going to talk about it. He's not going to talk about it, man. All year in his second year, I knew this guy was going through so much pain, and he never talked about it until the end of the year. This is not LeBron James coming out with a cast when he has a bad game. Fuck that noise. So this is a player who's doing the ultimate team thing, the ultimate Kyle Lowry thing, the ultimate Alvin Williams thing, where, you know, he's just all heart, all warrior, thinks, you know, I love hoop. I love to hoop. My teammates need me. Let me go out there and let me try to help him. Okay. And you know what? Say what you will about tonight. His defensive effort wasn't great. Offensively, he was pretty decent. And he was the best playmaker for the Raptors tonight by far. 5 turnovers, yes, but I think he made some good plays for the team. He sucked in the defense. I think he made life a lot easier for his other players. I think a lot of people fed off of him. I think that was a very good thing. He got to work on some MIDI stuff, which was good. I don't know how much it really helps in the long term, but, you know, this is obviously going to be part of his game going forward. And I think he made this game a little bit more competitive than it might have been had he not played, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So that was the second thing, right? So I dismissed that. The third thing is that Scottie Barnes needs to get into the post and not take threes. Now, this sentiment comes from these people. These people. There is a sentiment in Raptors land that he's not talented enough to take 8 threes, 9 threes, 10 threes, whatever, right? Now, I've harped endlessly on this podcast about development and how I feel most people don't understand development because it is so inherently counterintuitive. That there are elements to development that seem like you're going against yourself, but you're actually setting yourself up for the win. You know, if I told you that, like, most people don't want to spend $400,000 to one day make $200,000 a year. $400,000 seems like a pretty pricey upfront investment to one day make $200,000 a year. But you know, the ones that do what we call them doctors, lawyers, or whatever. I don't know how much law school costs in Canada, but at least for my pricing in my brain in the States, med school is damn expensive. So there's a lot of people that put $300,000-$400,000 of sweat equity and money into their education so that it pays off later. It's not fun in the moment, though. You take up a lot of debt, a lot of inconveniences. You don't get to do what you want to do with the money. You slave away. You work hard. Why? So you set yourself up later. It's very counterintuitive, though, right? But some people do it. It's called delayed gratification. But some people don't have delayed gratification. Don't get yourself canceled. Don't get yourself canceled. Okay. Let's just say there are certain people that you can see have a really poor understanding of delayed gratification. You don't have to look past them too much. You can just sort of see it. You can vibe test it. You can see it in their daily habits. You can see it in how they think, what they do. You can tell that this person, they went for the stale donuts every time. This is a lazy person. This is a person who rips off other people's, analysis. This is a person who wants the quick way, quick. I want the shortcut. I want the shortest, easiest way possible. But you know what we played on that? The easy way does not work. It's a lie. It's a lie. I promise you, and this is to the fourth quarter gang as well. Don't take shortcuts in life, man. Go the hard way. Go the hard way. Go the way of truth. Go the way of honesty. Go the way of being yourself. Being yourself is so goddamn hard because most of us don't even know who we are. But be yourself. Be authentic. It will make your life hard until it doesn't, and then it'll make your life easy. Scottie Barnes taking jumpers right now is hard. It's hard because it's not something that he's used to. But you know what would be super easy? For him to just be the roll man and just dive to the basket and score 25 points per game. These people would be so happy if he was doing that. They would be so fucking happy if he was doing that. If he just continued being who he was in year 2, they would be, or year 1, they'd be so happy. A continuation and progression of that. Scottie Barnes does not need more reps driving over Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns. I know 100% he can do that. 1,000%. I know that. I know 100% that he can do that. Okay? I have seen him do it against Giannis and Brook Lopez in the fourth quarter. I have seen him do it to Ben Simmons and Kevin Durant in the fourth quarter to the tune of 17, 18, 19 points. I have seen him do it to Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. I've seen him do it to Alex Caruso. I have seen him do it against the best of the best. I've seen him do it over Anthony Davis. I've seen him do it to big bodies. I don't need to see it. I don't need to see it. I don't think it's gone. I don't think it's going anywhere. It'll always be available to him. That drive is there. He does not need to become DeMar DeRozan for people to be happy. And he's not DeMar DeRozan. But you know what I'm saying? You don't need to become Jaren Jackson. That's exactly it. These people want him to be Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson takes a lot of threes, just an FYI. But what I'm trying to say is the Toronto Raptors had 2 prospects in 2017. One was OG Anunoby and one was Pascal Siakam. Now, I was way higher on OG than Pascal. Way higher. I saw shades of Kawhi Leonard. I saw shades of Ron Artest. And it's interesting that as good as OG became, he didn't quite become that. And then, we had this guy who kind of just got to fuck around in the G League, explore his game a little bit. Obviously, Rico Hines, the skill work, the development, come along slowly, play off the bench, play at faster pace, have less of responsibility defensively, kind of grow into his role a bit. And within a couple of years, you could see that because the Raptors sort of boxed OG into this 3-and-D role where his game was never really allowed to expand beyond that role, he sort of became just that player. There's nothing functionally wrong with OG Anunoby. Like I understand he's not necessarily as fluid an athlete as Pascal Siakam, but there's nothing fundamentally that should stop a player who is the vastly better shooter from being a much better scorer. He's just not a better scorer than Pascal. Pascal got to explore his game. He got to, be creative. He got to make mistakes. He got to go down to the G League, try his game out. Did OG ever play in the G League? Did OG play a single game for the Raptors 905? No, because they needed him. Because on day 1, when OG rehabbed early and he got his ass, I think he missed most of training camp in his rookie season, but he came ahead of schedule. He's supposed to come back in December. I think he was ready for preseason. Dwayne Casey had his defensive stopper. He had his LeBron stopper or whatever. OG, literally 20-year-old OG was your best bet to stop LeBron James, best bet to stop everybody. So in order to help Kyle and DeMar, to help Pascal, to help all these other pieces, this guy just became the glue guy. He just became what you needed him to be. You need him to guard 4s, you need him to guard 5s, you need him to guard 3s, you need him to guard 2s, you need him to guard LeBron, you need him to rebound, anything you need. You need him to just stand in the corner and not do anything else while DeMar and Kyle initiate the offense and cook. He can be a catch and shoot shooter. Why didn't his pull-up game ever advance, though? I wonder. So it's sort of sad. It's sort of sad when you think about it. OG also didn't get the big contract. He also missed out on the championship run. OG is one of my favorite Raptors of all time, straight up. But he's also a bit of a tragic what if in Raptors land, you know? What if he'd stayed? As a big question mark that I have, although I'm very, very happy with the return. I do wonder sometimes when I see this awful ass defense, what if he had stayed? What if he just traded Pascal? Would you be a little bit ahead right now? You know, OG is clearly a better player than RJ Barrett, and Emmanuel Quickly's not playing. And since RJ plus Emmanuel Quickly now make more money than OG, what was the point? You're saving 12 million, 15 million. You get a little bit younger, but OG's not old. So I guess that was a part of it. I think about that as a what if. But the other what if that I always think about is what if OG hadn't been boxed in? What if OG had been drafted to, you know, a terrible team and was just allowed to explore his game, not play in this box, pick up some turnovers, become a 20-point per game scorer, even if it was on low efficiency, grow into it? What would that OG have looked like? And I suspect that OG would have looked a lot closer to Ron Artest or Meta World Peace than it does to current OG. And let me tell you something, for those of you who didn't watch Meta World Peace or maybe tuned into NBA basketball around 2019 when the Raptors won a championship, Meta World Peace was like all NBA, man. All NBA level player. There's a really big cost to boxing in players, especially talented players. And OG had lottery upside, you know? I'm not going to sit here and tell you he had more upside than Kawhi as rookies, but a lot of the same things that were true for one were true for the other. Very much so. Just I feel that their games expanded in different ways and they had very different development staffs. And again, a lot of what ifism. But that's what I don't want for Scottie. You see, because again, I learned from the past and I try not to repeat it. That's what makes me a human being that has evolved beyond my past. And one of the things that I genuinely do not want to see is Scottie Barnes in the post all the time. That's not the future for him. That's not the future for him. That is low-hanging fruit. That is your gambling addiction. Him in the post is your stale donuts. Him just getting into the post, getting on the block, mismatch hunting, asking for switches, trying to steal, trying to be the roll man on the pick and roll, trying to become, Clint Capella. That is the low-hanging fruit. Don't do that. It's terrible. And to be a Raptors podcaster who's advocating for that shows me a few things. Number one, it shows me how little faith you have in Scottie. It shows me you don't really see him as a future star, which is fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Hang on one second. A little bit blurry there. Why am I still blurry? Yo, autofocus. What are you doing? Paid $200 for a camera not to put me in focus? Okay, there, I'm in focus now. See, now I'm pissed off talking about Scottie. I'm mad at my camera now. I don't know how y'all put up with me, man. Now I lost my train of thought. Okay. So, look, Victor Wembanyama can be a 30-point per game scorer on very efficient splits. Very efficient splits, right? 100%. Like, he could be the roll man. You can find a dynamic guard, pick and roll, spam it to death, transition play. But nobody cares. Like, the Spurs are not stupid. They're a good development staff. They don't want to develop Victor Wembanyama into Tyson Chandler 2.0. But that is one version of him. Certainly that's one version of him. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain places and certain contexts where had he gone, maybe his game would not be allowed the same room to grow. You need room. You need room to grow. You need roster space. You need time. You need development staff. And most importantly, you just need a role expansion. Yeah. You need like a place to explore. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need a blank canvas. You need to do the midi pull-up stuff, and then you need to do the corner three stuff, and then you need to take like 15 above the break threes, and you need to just get your body used to this stuff. Like, this is you need to handle the ball on the break consistently. You need to face pressure. You can't just release the pressure and just keep giving it up. That's a bad habit. You need to go through the pressure. Not stupidly, obviously. We're not saying drive into triple team and turn the ball over 15 times, but you need to get comfortable with those turnovers. And I think that at some point in Scottie's, training, life, whatever, I feel that someone taught him to explore his game. And that's why you see a lottery pick. That's why you see a rookie of the year. That's why you see, an all-star at 22, because someone allowed him to believe that in grade 6, when everyone is saying, get your ass in the post, that someone put the ball in his hands and said, you're a point guard. He had the belief in himself. I know, behind the scenes who really inspired all of that. So thanks to that man, big shout outs to him. But there's another version of Scottie where he turns into Vernon Carey because someone didn't have imagination, or Vernon Carey plus, I don't know, plus like a little bit more passing ability, or Boris Diaw. But instead, no, Scottie is trying to turn into this very dynamic player, and some people just don't see it with him. I'm going to tell you right now, Scottie's going to be a wing in the NBA. His future is not as a big. You would never take a jumbo-sized creator and a wing and then turn him into an undersized big. That would be the height of stupidity. The fact that he can play center or power forward does not mean he should play center or power forward. It means he can. And that's a gift. The versatility is a gift until it's not, until you abuse it. And then you stick him at center and say, this is our center because we really like Fred and Pascal. That's where the problem lies. So what I'm trying to say is, just because Victor Wembanyama is good at dunking the basketball, and just because Scottie is good at bang, bang, smashing in the post, doesn't mean that as losing teams that have no real consequences of championships this year, that is where you as a coaching staff should be wanting to put these players. And the idea of this is where I feel a lot of content creators, fans, analysts, even people who are very smart, are missing the bigger picture with Scottie Barnes. Chosen saying he's a 3-4, not a 4-5. I think he's a 2-4 who can play 1 and 5, whose most natural instincts are 1 and whose most natural physical profile is a 4-5. What I'm describing is one of the weirdest basketball players of all time. What I'm describing is a 1 of 1. What I'm describing is a unicorn. So when you have unicorns, or at least players who are highly unique in their overall profile, I mean, what would you say is close to Scottie Barnes? Jimmy Butler, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Jason Tatum, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, LeBron James. I mean, some variation of that, Paolo Banchero. Like, I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know, some people might say Cade Cunningham, something like that. Those guys with less wiggle, okay, Giannis Antetokounmpo, like a lesser Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Davis. Like, who am I describing? I'm describing one of the Magic Johnson, Scottie Pippen. Shit. Okay, Daryl's calling in. Daryl, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad. You have good audio today.
Yeah, I'm using that microphone that was sitting
Sweet.
Yeah. Just yeah, like I hear what you're saying. I don't like the negativity that I hear every other day about Scottie. It seems like Scottie brings out the bipolar in a lot of fans. So it's like one day he's the great hero, and then the next he's just a bum. So, but I follow a lot of other teams. I don't just follow the Raptors, and it's hilarious how similar the fan bases are. It's not just Toronto's fans. I mean, the Sacramento Kings fan boards are absolutely hilarious. Just, I mean, they want to burn every single one of their players at the stake. It's ridiculous. The Houston Rockets, the Knicks, the Knicks are funny. They're bipolar, but I mean, I guess they have kind of a lot of years of baggage to kind of clear out before they become a normal fan base again. But what's the other team? There's another team. Oh, Portland. Yeah, Portland. So, I mean, I follow a lot of teams, and they have criticisms. And I've come to realize that people that follow basketball are all on a different point in their basketball journey. And so I've become a lot more patient with people, because I like to hope or be optimistic that these people will eventually get to level 1 of enlightenment, and some of them might actually grow up and start seeing things a little bit differently. But I was 6 years old once too, so I shouldn't forget about that.
come on, Daryl. These people are not 6 years old. These people are in their mid-20s and, you know, early 30s, running podcasts, presenting themselves as experts on basketball, even though their takes are pretty much 800% wrong all the time. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to be patient, but I think the greatest evolution is when you don't get angry anymore. I think that's probably like the, you know, like when you've made it, when it doesn't bother you anymore. And every time I think I'm just, it's like the cycle of hell, right? Like I think I've evolved. I think it's not going to bother me. And then boom, chat, boom, go crazy, you know? So I don't know. I mean, at this point, am I just gonna, gosh, sorry, vegan grassing Raptors report. Sorry, not Raptors Republic. Someone posted it on Reddit. What did they say, bro? Just let us know. Stop getting all cryptic because you're making people go over there and check it out now. It's just almost like you're farming views for something else. Just tell us what happened so we can deal with it here. And I can pull it up if you want me to, but like, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I hear what you're saying, that everyone is on their own journey and people see this game differently, you know, and it's funny because, you know, you've checked out the panel, right? Of course.
Oh yeah,
you have.
man, I watch it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there are people on there that have played basketball professionally. There are people on there who train NBA players. There are people on there who have played, you know, who are related to players in the NBA and been around the game their whole goddamn lives. There are people on there who have been high-level Division I basketball players. So they're really, it's not, I'm not talking about someone who is just like good at JV, you know, or good in rec league. Like we're talking serious supers, people who devoted like years and years and years of their lives to content and have been plugged into the right players. And you know, like when I think about Ron, like everyone says, L host. Like, man, Ron knows so much about basketball. It's crazy, but I hardly ever agree with him on anything. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with Chill. It's like how does someone you know with Chilltown Hoops' knowledge of 25 to 30 years, 35, what am I talking about? 35 to 40 years of basketball knowledge, including playing at the highest level, being such a great athlete, you know, having a cousin in the NBA like Shaquille O'Neal. How does he come to like such wildly different conclusions than I do? And I've just learned that to some extent, it's just different strokes for different folks. You know, like we're just not going to agree on everything. We have a slightly different philosophy. But I don't think it would take Chilltown like 2 seconds to know that Scottie was injured tonight. He'd be able to spot it like that. So this is like where I think I agree with you saying. Just get to level 1. We're not asking you to get to level 10. Just get to level 1, which is like open your eyes and see that there's a basketball game going on. You know.
And I think a lot of it is just impulse control too, and like you said, instant gratification versus delayed gratification. These people feel a certain way, and then they just say something. And eventually, like when the sample gets big enough and when enough time goes by, things balance out, and then people will, you know, there will become a conventional thinking that everyone will now believe. And then those people who said a lot of stuff that was wrong, that stuff is all just forgotten, and they probably even forget about it themselves, which kind of sucks then, because then it's nothing is being learned, nothing is being corrected. The cycle just continues on and on and on. It's just, what I appreciate about your channel and a few others is the priority on foresight, because you want to be right about something from the get-go. You don't want to be wrong about something because you didn't pay attention or you didn't put enough effort into learning about it, and then just sort of go along with the conventional thinking as the sample increases. So but that's really rare. That's really, really rare, even among, you know, people that have played at the highest level, or people like Chill, people like Ox, Ron, like these guys. I mean, even Jordan's a trainer. He literally trains these athletes, but he doesn't know everything. He comes from things with his own perspective as well and his own experience. So it's like, you know, we're all on different parts of our path.
Like the cool thing is, you know, again, I was once, you know, a 15-year-old kid dreaming of meeting an NBA player, knowing even one, communicating with even one head coach. And thankfully, through my life, I've been very, very blessed to meet a lot of them, to be able to talk to a few, to exchange thoughts with other, you know, people who are really plugged into the thing. And one thing that I've realized is there is like a baseline of respect that I have for people who do this for a living. You know, like I really don't agree with Jordan saying that Dennis Schroeder is on par or better than Derek White. Like I cannot wrap my head around that being even 1% true. but I understand his perspective is different than mine because I'm looking at the numbers a little bit differently. I maybe watch these players differently. I probably watch a different set of games of theirs. I have a different prioritization in terms of what I watch on a basketball court. Brian and I have had probably very wildly different opinions about players around the league and how we see them fitting with a certain player on this team. I'll be like, what about this guy and this guy? And he'd be like, nah. But he'd be like, what about this guy and this guy? I'm like, that guy's a fucking defensive pylon. You know, it's a totally different view on it because I'm viewing things from my vantage point, which is totally removed from their vantage point. Right. I'm not a trainer. I don't train NBA athletes. I'm not in the game, you know, in the gym every single day teaching players how to, you know, snake dribble through, you know, towards a pull-up. Like I have a fundamental appreciation for a player like Zach LaVine or Jalen Green, but I think I'm blind to their talent to some extent as well because of how bad the analytics are and just what I prioritize. So like objectively, it sounds crazy to say Dyson Daniels is a better player or Jacoby Walters a better player than Jalen Green. Like Jalen Green is clearly a better player, right? It depends on what you need.
That's it, right?
It depends on what you need, right?
Yeah, that's like how many players have been considered throughout the NBA's history, the highest level of basketball. How many players on teams have been considered incredible talents and just amazing basketball players, you know, transcendent, maybe the, you know, top 10 greatest ball handler of all time or one of the best shooters of all time. And they've never sniffed a championship, never come close to elevating the other people on their team to, you know, higher than a second round exit in the playoffs. There's been hundreds of them, thousands of them, you know, and then, but then people are always trying to talk about, well, there's this formula of winning and you have to have players that make winning plays. So it kind of bothers me when you hear people or read in chats that people are saying like, oh, this was a terrible loss. And then they like to throw blame around. I mean, obviously the blaming Darko and the coaching staff is the hot topic these days, but it's like, to me, if you see a commitment to making winning plays by players, rookies, by vets, by everybody, that's the win. Those are where the wins come in. It's like if you're keeping a tally of wins and losses, like keep a tally of winning plays or losing plays. How many plays did a person give up on? And honestly, at this point, I don't even care if RJ Barrett is blowing a defensive assignment if I see the effort there. If I see him trying to make a winning play and then maybe he picked the wrong way or he didn't do it right. But what drives me nuts is when the effort isn't there. Like,
what did you think of his game? What did you think of his game today? I actually want to say that to credit RJ for playing through his sickness when he was vomiting yesterday. He clearly wasn't himself. Looked a little bit wobbly and off balance, maybe playing through a bit of a fever. I have no idea. Was this his flu game? But, you know, kudos to him for attacking as relentlessly as he did, getting downhill, getting to the line. And there were at least 3 positive defensive plays. I have decided.
I was just going to say that.
I'm so glad. So yeah, let's hear about RJ's positive progression defensively, because I want to tell you the last 2 games he's played, he's had positive quarters defensively.
Yeah, I've been noticing that too. I've been cautiously optimistic for a couple of weeks even. I've been noticing the ratio of good individual moments to bad individual moments or stretches is getting more on the positive side of the ledger. So it's like instead of gambling, he's making a good read to try and strip. Now it doesn't always work, but like today he almost got a steal and I forget exactly what you remember that play. Like he was perfectly timed the strip and it just didn't quite get it, you know, like a millimeter or two or a millisecond or two difference. And he would have gotten a nice steal there, you know? So it's like, I see the progression, I see the effort, and I can tell, like you can tell that the coaches are preaching this and that they're trying to get him to buy in. And he's not showing the body language of a person who's saying, no, I'm not going to buy into this. I am who I am. And, you know, I'm not going to listen to anybody else. Like you can tell that he's buying in. He's trying to buy in. It's just a matter of reps, and he'll probably never be a lockdown guy, but it's like the effort is 70%, you know?
Right. So maybe my issue is that So when someone says he won't be a lockdown guy or he's never going to be a defensive player of the year, I'm like, yeah, this guy is blue. Okay. Like, I know that.
Mhm.
How good can he be, according to you? How good could he be?
All right. I
And
think he could
perhaps a
be
comp. Like, if you can give me a comp as
sure.
well, like he can be
Okay, let's think of a
this good,
comp.
and he can be as good as roughly as good as this player.
All right, I'll start by saying that let's say in like the crafted defensive model, I could say that maybe he could be in the 50th percentile. If he becomes a 0 defensive box plus minus player, I think that's a huge win. I think he can be league average defender for I don't know about if I say for his position. I'd say overall he could be a league average defender. I think that's his ceiling. And right now he's crawling there. If he becomes a league average defender, I think that he is a person that you can keep and start on your team. Let's think of a comp now.
Just defensively, you don't have to find an offensive plus defensive comp for him.
Yeah, sure. I'm drawing a blank.
Anyone in the chat want to help Daryl?
Yeah, let's see who's. Yeah, I'm sure everybody will have 100 names. I'll be like, yeah, of course, right? Just suddenly can't think of one right now.
Yeah, I can't think of one either.
Yeah,
because every time I think about him defensively, I think of DeMar DeRozan.
Devin Booker. I don't know. Obviously, his offensive game isn't there, but Devin Booker's not an absolute pylon on defense. Like he's average. This is a chat. I can't see the chat right now. So what are they saying?
Can you see the screen?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I can see your screen. I see what you're sharing. Yeah, I mean, like, I think he can be better than that.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Devin Booker is fine defensively. He's not good at all.
Yeah.
But he's for his position, for his role, he is a weakness. He's not a positive defender. He is I've seen him be okay though. And in terms of the physical profile, his physical profile, at least from a size perspective, is identical to RJ's. He's actually even a little bit smaller than RJ. So, okay. Jaylen Brown would be crazy. Jaylen Brown, he's never going to be as good as Jaylen Brown. I'll put that in writing. I don't even think Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown is the worst defender in the Celtics starting lineup, and I think RJ Barrett will never be as good as him. But this is Jaylen Brown. Like, he's never going to be this. So I think 50th percentile would be an absolutely insane outcome.
No, that's higher than, yeah.
So I think if we're talking what's his role, that's the first thing I need to know. What's his role? If his role is hidden, I could see him being, so just to explore this idea properly here. So it goes into team player traits, right? So on defense, hold on, where are the roles? Player roles. Here we go. So on defense, they break it into 5, which is off-ball wings, versatile defensive bigs, on-ball stoppers, drop bigs, and a hidden. Okay. So basically how you rank is based on what your role is. And I think that's the most evolved way that I've ever seen defense broken down, because it's really not fair to compare OG Anunoby to Giannis Antetokounmpo when their jobs on defense are so fundamentally different. Now, I've been an open critic of defensive analytics for a very, very long time because I don't think that they measure it. But I think this does about as decent a job as I can think of, because it's measuring everything that goes into your specific role. So speaking of stoppers, Alex Caruso, KCP, OG Anunoby, Jalen Suggs, Herb Jones, Paul George to some extent, Fred VanVleet, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Franz Wagner, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Derek White, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Williams, Mike Conley, Tumani Kamara, Josh Hart, PJ Washington. Yeesh, that's surprising. He was not good defensively at all for the Hornets, but he's gotten better, I guess. Lou Dort, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jimmy Butler, Derek Jones, Jaden McDaniels. Does he remind you of any of those players? Hell no.
No way.
So
definitely not.
So on defense, we're probably looking at hidden. DeLon Wright, Jordan McLaughlin, Dalen Terry. Now we are getting 100% into RJ Barrett territory of defenders. It's possible to be the DeLon Wright where you're a 90th percentile defender at your role, right? You're just that good at doing what you do.
Yeah.
Max
Yeah,
Christie is not a great defender, but according to this model, he's 58th percentile among defenders because, again, role context matters. I think RJ Barrett could, at least in theory, do a lot of what Max Christie does defensively. I think Max Christie's better, but not by much. Svi Mykhailiuk, is that a bar that we can aim towards? Svi Mykhailiuk was not a good defender for the Raptors, but he is a 34th percentile defender according to Crafted. I mean, what about Bones Highland, a complete defensive pylon? He is 35th percentile right, or 24th percentile right now. I mean, the numbers have fallen a little bit. But Caleb Houston is a perfect example where I think physically the profile kind of fits out with RJ Barrett. He's just a little bit bigger than RJ Barrett. But yeah, it's 13th percentile. So again, like these are the tough jobs. Defensively, the versatile big is the toughest job. On ball stopper, off ball wing. Off ball wing, that's probably going to be Scottie Barnes, right? That's probably going to be Scottie Barnes territory. And that's Chris Dunn, Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, Keon Ellis, Asar Thompson, Kaysen Wallace, Hayward Highsmith, John Conchar. See, ideally in a defensive scheme, you need some combination of all these players.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have a player who's, primarily hidden on defense, right? You're going to have it's going to be, and yeah, there's a Grady Dick right there, 4th percentile. Grady's role is hidden. Right now, RJ is, at least per Crafted, considered an on-ball stopper, at which he is terrible, right? But I believe he can perform as well at Grady's job as Grady is doing right now, if not much better. But Grady cannot perform at RJ's job as an, it's just, yeah. The Raptors just don't have that thing on defense that you need because everything is so, I was looking at, I was curious about there's Raven Outlaw Nas is calling in. Shall we just let him join the chat in the three-way?
Sure, I'm gonna go and I gotta go in a few minutes anyway. But yeah, sure. Let's. I got a few more minutes.
No, it's cool. Let's just give you the 2 more minutes, and then Raven, please hang on. I'll get to you in 2 minutes after we talked. We finished the conversation with Daryl. Please be patient, because I would love to talk to you as well. Yeah. So I was looking back at the defensive play, and I was just like, yo, NBA offensive, there's a reason why offensive players are paid what they're paid. They're so goddamn hard to stop. It's easy enough to break down a play and slow it down and say you should have sent Jalen Green right, or you should have sent Jalen Green left. It's like, you remember that time when I was telling Ox, I was like, I'm not going to let you do this, and he's like, you're not letting me or not letting me do shit.
Yeah.
That's basically what Jalen Green said to Grady Dick on 35 feet away from the basket above the break with no help behind him. He said, you're not letting me or not letting me do shit. You force me left, I'm still going left. You force me right, I'm still going left. You're not stopping me. It's baffling to me reading some of the comments under that video how rudimentary and elementary some people's elementary, some people's basketball knowledge is, where you think that a transition bullet like Jalen Green or a crafty shifty guard like Jalen Brunson is just getting stopped because Grady Dick decided to read the scouting report and know where his help was. This shit works in high school. It works in middle school. It does not work in the NBA. Obviously there's good, better, worse, and the Raptors choose worse. 9 times out of 10, they choose the worst option. But it's not like better is stopping the basket. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah.
No, I agree completely. It's about like you always say, and I agree completely, is great offense will always beat great defense in the long run because it's built that way. That's the way that the game is. So defense is a system. It's not, I mean, you have to build it out of good pieces, but it is a system. It's
right.
And if you have offensive players that can break that system, the whole thing can come crashing down. Like we've seen it in games over and over where a team is playing great defense for a few quarters and then they just can't stop Kevin Durant, and then the entire thing just crumbles.
The Minnesota Timberwolves have not been a great defense this year. They have a lot of great defensive personnel, right? I think they have a lot. They have some great defensive personnel. They have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who would probably be your best perimeter defender next to Scottie Barnes right now. He's a bench player for them. They have Jaden McDaniels, who would be your best defender, point of attack or off ball wing. He would be your best defender. They have Rudy Gobert, but they have some leaky spots too. Mike Conley's not a bad defender at all. Actually, he's a pretty good defender at his age. He's phenomenal. It's Julius Randle who's really just very leaky and very undisciplined and quite ball focused as a defender. But he's still not the worst defender. Like if I had to compare Julius Randle versus RJ Barrett, Julius Randle's a better defender. So when I'm thinking about personnel swaps, what if we traded right now Kelly Olynyk tonight for Rudy Gobert? How much does that swing the defense? How much does that swing what you do? How much does that clean up things? You know what I mean? It's not the coverage. It's not the coverage. It's the talent. It's the physics of basketball. It's like Victor Wembanyama is not blocking 10 shots against whatever team he did it against. He's not blocking those 10 shots because he read the scouting report. He's blocking 10 shots because he has great defensive instincts and he has great defensive tools and he maps the court extremely well and he has great hand-eye coordination. Things that I cannot say about Kelly Olynyk right now defensively. You know, just it's not lateral burst. I mean, you know, and the worst thing is I'm shitting on Kelly saying Kelly was just an embarrassment to basketball, but I know he's going through a back injury too, you know? So it's just like in a season like this, it doesn't feel really right to rip players. It just feels like kind of low hanging fruit, ripping Davion, ripping RJ, ripping Scottie. It just feels really stupid. I know what this team is doing and I'm quite happy they're doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right.
It's good to be a Raptors fan right now. Yeah. All right, man. Good talk.
All right. Cheers, man. Cheers. Bye.
Yeah, see you next time.
Yeah. All right. Raven, Outlaw, Nas, what's up?
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What's up? Want to first off wish you and everyone else happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Before we start off anything, you know. But honestly, watching yesterday's game and then watching today's game, is it just me or is it two different teams?
In what way?
In defense. Like, look at yesterday's game, and then they just got gassed out in the fourth. But like the second quarter, they were on fire, man. And it's like a UFC fight, and the championship rounds they just gave up. You know what I mean? That's what I felt like.
Well, you played one of the worst offensive teams in the league yesterday, and you played one of the best offensive teams in the league on a second night of a back-to-back where you
fair enough, man.
On the road. Not that Raptors crowds this year have been all that enthusiastic or supportive. No offense. I mean, I don't blame them, but it's been pretty dead. You know, I've been to one Raptors game this year, and I had an opportunity to go to yesterday's game. I gave up my tickets.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks for me because I missed out on Jacoby Walters' career high. He's one of my favorite players, so I feel like a dumbass for doing that. But the last game I attended was OKC, and I was just like, shoot, like I don't know if I want to do that again. You know, because
didn't he break a record yesterday for the first 14 points too as well?
I don't know because I'm not Keeks, but I'm sure it was because I cannot remember the last.
I know they mentioned that today. That's why I'm saying that they mentioned that in the game that he was the first rookie or something like that. Like he scored the first 14 points yesterday in the game.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I in my memory, I cannot remember another Raptor scoring 14 straight points to open up a game. Like I've never seen that. Not from DeMar, not from Kawhi, not from anybody. So maybe he was the first rookie to ever do it. I don't know. Maybe.
But real talk, I thought yesterday was a write-off because they're playing Houston. But then when I seen them play and how they came out after that that first quarter, I was like, dude, like these guys are on point today. But then every time it's the fourth quarter and they're just like, I don't know, it's just like they're struggling in the fourth quarter and they're losing by like these close games. Like this whole season's been like close games, man.
Is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing. I look at like Abaji, I look at Grady Dick. Like you're talking about Scottie Barnes and all that, but look at like the upside with Abaji and Grady Dick. Abaji's cutting, man, like that's like next level stuff, bro.
Sure. Yeah, I think Ochai has been one of my favorite developments this year. I think there's levels to upside, right? Like what Ochai is doing, his role is very refined to like cutting, spot up shooting, transition.
Right.
What RJ is doing is catch and shoot, pick and roll ball handler, drive in the paint. There's not a lot of mid-range. There's not a lot of self-initiation from that standstill. It's a lot of, head full of steam transition play, right? It's not the most complicated stuff. I think the two most complicated roles I could even argue 3 most complicated roles at times on the Raptors are Jacoby, Grady, and Scottie. Like those are really complicated roles in terms of what they're being asked to do because, again, like the defensive pressure that especially Scottie and Grady are facing is just great. Okay, so I think RJ's expansion as a playmaker makes his role extremely complicated as well. So I think like when I compare those 3 against Ochai or Jamison Battle, it's you're comparing apples and oranges. Even though Ochai and Jamison Battle have been so much more effective at what they do. But it's like if you want to box Grady into standstill, catch and shoot, above the break, transition shooter, role player, he'll be much more efficient. But that doesn't help him. So it's almost like amazing that these players have such complicated roles with such complicated contexts, but they're still being as efficient as they are. But it's easy to kind of gloss over what RJ and Scottie and Grady are doing, and just kind of hone in on Ochai and Jamison Battle and say, but those guys are shooting 60% true shooting, but it's like their role is so much easier,
No,
Everything comes
fair
down to-
enough.
yeah.
Now I look at like Scottie, even like yesterday, like after the 4th or 5th shot that didn't go in with the 3-pointer, it's like try to facilitate, man. Pass to the hot hand, man. Like give it to Jacoby. Give it to the guys who are hot. Let them score. You'll find your shot eventually. You're our best player. Set the tone.
And you don't think he set the tone yesterday?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no.
In what ways no, and in what ways yes?
Well, like first of all, like you're taking shots and it's not going in, and then
what if they went in?
And they go on a run right after, right?
Okay.
In my opinion, that's not being a good leader, man. Like find the open shot, like set up the next player who's there, like who's open, or like look for the open player.
So okay, so here's my question. He went 0 for 8 or 0 for 10 from 3?
Yeah, but that was all threes though. Like try to go in the lane. Like I mean,
I hear you. So what if he had gone 4 for 10 from 3? Would that be okay?
Not really.
40% from 3 is not okay?
I would say no, because like honestly, like I think he was just jacking up shots to find a shot.
I agree with you. I think he was very, very passive last night. I think part of it was he didn't feel comfortable attacking. He had no burst. It was very obvious watching him defensively that he was very stationary. Like he's trying to.
And don't get me wrong, I understand he's injured. Like I'm not saying like I'm not trying to diss on the man. Like I know he's our best player. I just expect better from him. That's what I'm saying.
Right. But if he plays better yesterday, you probably win.
Fair enough, but like
complication, like what I just said, if he had gone 4 for 10 or 4 for 8 or whatever, and you said that wasn't good, that was good enough to beat them because you lost by 4. If he makes 2 more threes, you win. If he makes 3 or 4 more threes, you blow them out. Like you not blow them out, you win by comfortable.
You'd win. You win by like 10-15 easy.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, do you want wins right now?
Well, honestly, I want them to go in the play-in. Like, I want to see at least them like fight for some. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want like everyone's talking about the draft and all that. I get it. Like, you know what I mean? But like, it's hard being a Raptor fan since the beginning. It's hard to see like seasons like this. That's all I'm saying, man. It's super hard to like, because it's I don't know, man. I want to see the Raps do some like this season too. Like rebuilding, I get it. I get all this stuff, but do some, man. You're like what? Even with 7 and 22, 7-23 right now. We're like how many games out of the play-in?
We are many games out of the play-in.
Like I would say 5. Like we're just behind Detroit. We're chasing Detroit with that. Like I would say 5 or 6.
Let me present you a scenario. You remember you said you're a Raptor fan for a really long time, right?
Watch him since the first game ever, dude.
Wow. Okay, cool. So you remember in 2012, 2013 when the Raptors were really, really bad, right?
Yes.
And then they turned it around and sparked We the North, right?
Yes.
Do you remember the faces of We the North? Do you remember like the main key players?
Like you're talking about like the bench mob and all them talks?
No, that's later. The bench mob, like to some extent, came
2013. I'm trying to think who was.
Well, okay. Let me refresh your memory. There was Terrence Ross.
Okay.
He was a lottery pick.
Mm-hmm.
There was Jonas Valanciunas. He was a lottery pick.
Right.
There was DeMar DeRozan. He was a lottery pick. There was
Okay.
Kyle Lowry. He wasn't. He was
traded by Houston. Yeah.
He was traded for a pick that turned into Steven Adams, which is a lottery pick.
Yeah.
There was Rudy Gay, who was once a lottery pick, who was then traded for the final pieces that ended up becoming the bench mob, which is Gravis Vasquez, Patrick Patterson, John Salmons, and Chuck Hayes. That's your core. Those are the players. DeMar DeRozan was the result or the fruit that you bore after a terrible season. Jonas Valanciunas was the fruit you bore after a terrible season.
Wasn't Bosch there too in that season?
No. Bosch was gone, and Bosch was in Miami, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, these terrible seasons that we're talking about, you know, like they produce the end result. But I feel, unfortunately, because the cause and effect are so far removed, right? Like if you smoke your whole life, right? I've smoked plenty in my life, and trust me, it's a regrettable decision, and I don't advise anybody to do it. But that's the cause of, you know, the cancer that you get at 62. But it's so far removed from the cause and effect that it's almost like not directly related. Like you can't even think like, okay, well, that's what I did when I was 22 and that's what it cost me today. You know, there's like people are so bad at planning their finances because, you know, in the moment it feels like, oh yeah, I got this credit card and, you know, it's like the $15,000 limit and the money's not real and, you know, I'll pay it when it comes. And then, you know, next thing you know, you're $80,000 in debt. And you're like, how did I get here? Because the cause and effect is, you know, what people fail to see. So what you feel like is a losing season right now, I think would be the finishing touches on the fastest rebuild in franchise history. I don't think
so. What do you think? Who do you think they should target next year in the draft then? With our draft, because we're not guaranteed. It's a lottery. We're not guaranteed the first round pick, regardless of what our record is too.
First round pick? No, you're guaranteed a first round pick. You're
not. No, meaning like we're not guaranteed. Like we're not guaranteed Cooper Flag. That's what I'm saying.
But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you're not guaranteed Cooper Flag because this draft is much more than just Cooper Flag. And I mean, like I'll run the tankathon simulation because it's become like a bit of a running joke in this, you know, in this community right now that I love running tankathon.
Yeah, but everyone thinks we're gonna tank and automatically get Cooper Flag like that. Like maybe with this another player will help us even more.
Okay, well, in this tank simulation, we got the 6th pick. If I run it again, we get the 3rd pick. If I run it again, we get the 2nd pick. If I run it again, we get the 4th pick. If I run it again, we get the 6th pick. And if I run it one more time, we get the 5th pick. What I'll guarantee you is in any one of those situations, the Raptors probably do a pretty good job of drafting and developing that player. And there's
fair enough.
Talent. I mean, there's a guy called Kaman Malawach who played for the South Sudan team that faced off against the United States. He was scoring on Joel Embiid and Anthony Davis as a 17-year-old kid playing for his country. Very exciting player. There was a guy named VJ Edgecombe who played for the Bahamas this summer, and he was a highlight reel. And he's possibly one of the best defensive playmakers that I've seen in my life at the college level or at the high school level. He's amazing. And he's a really good kid. He's probably going to be the 5th or 6th overall pick in this draft. There's a guy like Ace Bailey, who's a smooth movement shooter that some people liken to someone like a Brandon Miller or a Paul George, you know, like the type of player you want to put next to a Scottie Barnes. There's Dylan Harper, who is a 6'6" hyper processing point guard / shooting guard who plays for Rutgers right now, who is frankly, you know, climbing up most people's draft boards because he processes the game at such an elite level and he's able to physically shift into spaces like James Harden. And he's a pretty competent defender. And then there's that generational prospect that some people think is maybe not so generational, which is Cooper Flag, you know, who is like got flashing all-time defender type of potential. And then you've got more. You got Colin Murray Boyles. You got so many players. You got Nolan Traore. You've got like 9 to 10 players. Yakuchonis as well. Kasparis Yakuchonis playing for Illinois. There's Yegor Demon. Like, my God, man, there's like 9 places you can go in this draft, and I guarantee you, like 7 of them are good. So it's like, this is one of those drafts where you really are going to get a foundational starting level piece. For all your tanking troubles, you're getting a starter at worst in the top 7. Like, unless you fuck it up completely and it becomes Rafael Arujo, like, it's not gonna, you know what I mean?
I don't think anyone's going to be like Rafael Arujo, man.
Sure. So, Yeah, there's no prospect that projects to be that bad. So, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is like there is a prize at the end of the tunnel. And guess what? We're almost in January. That's
Mhm.
May. The season will be over in like for the Raptors, the season's gonna be over in April. It's just 3 more months of this. We can't put up with this. This is causing us pain. This is causing us to
Brother, I still watch every game regardless, man. If you lose or not, I still watch it because I'm a
that's
Raptor
good.
fan at heart, man. And until I die, 24/7. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think being a fan, you know, has changed a lot, right? Like we used to have fans who were like rooting for the team to win at all costs, and then there's all these other types of fans, and I feel like I'm a different type of fan. I'm a
Of
long term
course, dude.
fan.
You don't have to even say that. It's obvious, dude.
Yeah. So I was listening to a podcast the other day between Louis Satzman and Samson Folk on Raptors Republic, and they were talking about like this different type of fan who would probably just be better off like playing some sort of NBA 2K My GM mode. And you know, it's like, do you really even watch the games if you're not rooting for, you know, players like Davion Mitchell, and if you're just trying to trade everybody, if you're trying to move off of RJ and IQ? And it's just like, no, I think some people just kind of see ahead a little bit. Like, I don't need to go through 8 years, 7 years of DeMar DeRozan to understand that having a defender like him is going to be a limiting factor. Although I like DeMar DeRozan, I don't need to go through 6 years of Jonas Valanciunas getting cooked, you know, in on defense to understand that a defensive upgrade would be nice. Obviously, it's nice to want. Sometimes it's hard to get. So I guess what I'm saying is, you know, I'm a bit of an idealist when it comes to basketball philosophy. And, you know, I ideally believe that when you have a core that's this young, when
Mhm.
so many things have gone well, then the chances of becoming great are magnifying significantly at this point, which means the cost of not being great is greatness. Like, if you don't have Scottie right now, and Grady didn't work out for you. Let's say Scottie was a bust and Grady was a bust and Jacoby sucked, and you know you had nothing on this roster but RJ and Emmanuel Quickly. Well, now the cost of tanking or not tanking is just delaying the inevitable, which is an inevitable teardown. You have nothing. You have nothing.
Right.
If Scotty's a bust and Grady's a bust, you have nothing. You know, your young stable of assets is barely, you know, what are you aspiring to be? The Chicago Bulls? The 10th, 9th every year, and that's out. But because Scottie and Grady are not failures, because they are hitting, and because Jacoby is hitting, and because Jonathan Mogbo is a surprisingly good role player, you know, for a 31st overall pick, and because I have
Yeah.
belief in Ulrich, and because I have belief in so many of the young players in this team, and because I do believe in the long-term potential of Emmanuel Quickly, and I do believe that, you know, if RJ Barrett figures out the defensive woes, that he can be a productive NBA player. Now I'm like, oh my God. So we're like right there. Like we're like
Bro,
a
we're still
42
right
win
there in
team.
the mix, dude. But look at the Boston game this season.
Right. Exactly. Well, I mean, I think it's worth noting that Orlando beat Boston tonight without Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Mo Wagner. But Boston
And
has a
Franz Wagner's
tendency.
out for the season, I think, right, with his knee injury.
It's Mo Wagner who's out for the
Sorry,
season.
Mo Wagner. My bad.
I,
My
I
bad.
think I think Franz and Paolo will come back. But nevertheless, I guess what I wanted to say was, you know, I don't really care about the Boston game or the Denver game or how you were beating these teams. What I'm saying is my eye test tells me that this team, if healthy, if trying to win, could win 42, 43 games in a depleted East.
I
But
agree.
at what cost? At the cost of not putting players in positions to develop better, and at the cost of worsening your draft odds. So while you are ahead for a moment, you are significantly behind the second your playoff run ends. So let's say we build two timelines. Timeline number one, let's just say it's like a simulation. Timeline number one, we do what the vast majority, well, not say the vast majority, but a lot of Raptor fans wanted to do, which is push for the play-in and go all in. Okay, that's one timeline. Second timeline is we do exactly what the Raptors are doing right now, which is trying to bottom out and trying to go for a top 5 pick. Okay. The top 5 pick avenue looks different philosophically. The young guys are going to get more minutes. If you're bottoming out, that's good for reps. They're going to get to try to explore their game a little bit more. Jacoby Walter is not doing what he's doing for the Raptors on the Lakers right now. I guarantee it.
No.
LeBron would break a clipboard over his head. No, you are in a box. If you're playing next to LeBron, you're like catch, shoot, like that's your game, right? So he would be like a defensive role player, and I have no doubt that he would become a great version of that, but I'm not trying to turn Jacoby into Reggie Bullock. I'm not trying to turn him into, KCP. I'm trying to explore the avenues in which he becomes Eddie Jones or something better than what those guys are. It's the same thing with Grady, right? Like, it's very easy to use Grady in a very, very similar vein of how the Sacramento
I
Kings
think Jacoby's a great passer too, man. Like, look at the way he's passing yesterday and all that, dude.
Absolutely. His passing is super underrated. And that was one of the biggest reasons he fell down draft boards, because people thought he couldn't do that. And it's just like, yo, you tell people in high school, this guy could pass. He didn't just lose those instincts. So you don't lose those instincts. Once you learn how to pass, like, it's just about getting the timing right and getting the system right and getting the right, players around you to be able to do that in the right fit. So what I'm saying is the bottom out approach makes the players on your roster that are of real consequence better players. Like, it allows them to expand their game out a little bit more. It allows them to get more minutes. It allows them to make more mistakes. It allows them, like,
trial and error, man. Like,
yeah, like if you're a bad defensive team, you play conservative defense. That's a rule. That's a rule. If I was coaching this team, and I'm granted I'm not a coach, but I know a little bit about basketball. So if I'm coaching this team right now and I'm playing, I'm not picking up 60 feet. I'm not picking up 60 feet. I'm giving up corners. I'm packing the middle. I'm trying to play zone a lot to hide some of my weaker defenders. I'm definitely trying to hide RJ and Grady whenever I can. And I am really going to play Bruno Fernando and, more minutes and just to soak up the middle and just to have that kind of rebounding presence and that 7-footer up there, or 6'10".
Yeah, dude, when's the last time Bruno even played? Like,
he's not a part of the cards. He's going to get waived. I'm pretty sure. Like, they're just keeping him on the roster right now for roster flexibility. I'm pretty sure he's going to EuroLeague after this, or maybe there's another team that will look to sign him. Maybe the Knicks. I don't know. So the way I'm looking at it is, in this version of reality, like with the bottom 5 pick, I'm forcing Grady to pick up Jalen Green in space, which hopefully allows me to coach him better on how to do that. Because whether you want to scheme or not, in the playoffs, you can't really hide. You can't really hide. You're not going to be able to hide. Teams are too good. They scout you too well. And your biggest weakness always gets exploited in the playoffs. So right now, you're basically like, you're bearing it all right now. You're almost like, stripping yourself naked and walking down the street and saying, here I am, right? Because at this level, Grady has nowhere to hide on defense. They're not hiding him. RJ has nowhere to hide. You're going to get cooked night after night until you get better. And it's almost abusive, but it's effective.
It is. You're absolutely right with that.
Because if you can guard someone 65 feet, now I can design a scheme. And now I can design a scheme to hide you and make you effective. But there's no way that you're not getting better at this by being bad at it. It's just impossible. The level of how much better you can get is debatable. Are you getting 2% better, 5% better, 10% better? But the way I'm thinking, Darko is probably looking at this is 2% better is better than 0% better. So small wins. So that's the two. And then on top of it, for all your great development, you also get a top 5, top 6 pick, which is, in theory at least, a better asset than the 14th pick. Now, let's play out the other timeline. You do make the playoffs, or you make the play-in. Now you have the meaningful rep. You play more meaningful games down the stretch. But in order to play more meaningful games, and because the games count, you have to shorten your rotation. Now, if Jacoby has a bad 3-4 minutes, he's not coming back in the game.
That affects our development then.
That will affect their development fundamentally. It will force them to become better in other ways. It's not like because they're not playing in the game, they can't play down in the G League, but it's going to be a different path. It'll be a more refined path. When Jacoby comes in the game, it's not pick and roll ball handling reps for him and Grady. When Grady comes into the game, it's not point of attack, work on your point of attack defense against Jalen Green in open space for Grady. It's going to be, Grady, can we hide Grady in the zone and just float with him? And that's a completely different concept of development. Now, let's just say the best thing happens, which is you do manage to somehow get through the play-in. Let's be honest. The last time the Raptors were in the play-in, it did not go well. DeMar's daughter.
Chicago.
Yeah. But let's say this time they do make it through. They do make it through. Now, congratulations. You have a first-round date with the Boston Celtics. Is it helpful to get blown out by 35, 40 points every single night?
Yeah, but playoff experience is vital too, man.
Playoff experience is vital when you're in it. Playoff experience is not vital when you're getting blown up by 30, 40 points. That much I'll say. It's one thing, it actually can be quite demoralizing to go into a playoff series and have absolutely no chance. What the Raptors did against the Sixers was actually very good because they fought back and they made it a 6-game series. Getting swept by the Celtics is not fun. Now, I don't even think the Raptors would get swept. That's the funniest thing. I think they would actually make it a 4-1. I think they would make it a gentleman's sweep. But I think in the games that
they'll take one at home for sure, easy.
Well, I don't want to say for sure, but they would. I think they would beat them because the Celtics beat themselves one game every single series, right? Like they're a very undisciplined team. They take a lot of stupid threes, and one night they're just not going to go in. They're going to shoot 22% from three, and they're just not going to win that game. But that being said, the games that you lose, you're going to lose by 30 or 40 points. You have no hope of, with this roster as constructed, you have no hope of stopping the Celtics. You have a drop big.
Agreed. That's a championship team, man.
Okay. Do you have a hope of stopping the Cleveland Cavaliers? You don't have a single defender on this team who can do anything with Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell, unless you're going to play Davion Mitchell and live with the regression on offense on the other end, which is unsustainable because they'll kill you. Like, it's just there's no path to a successful outcome when you go the other way. The only path would be that Scottie literally morphs into like a superstar who can drag this team over the finish line, at which point you say, to what avail? You can max push it to 4-2. You're still getting beat. It's not a championship team. Now, I would say if there was a real goal, if the top of the East wasn't as dominant as it is, Boston, Cleveland, a healthy Orlando, right? Milwaukee to some extent, New York, these teams are definitively above us. It's that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th that I can get comfortable with and say we'll leapfrog those teams really soon, right? Like the Atlantas, the Chicagos, the Brooklyns, the Washingtons, the Charlottes, the Detroits, like Indiana. I'm not scared of any of these teams next year. So now I'm like, okay, this is a year where it's like they're sleeping. Let's capitalize. They're trading away picks for middling stars. Let's capitalize. Their stars are getting older. Our stars are just coming to age. Let's capitalize. Everything comes down to championship windows. For me, everything comes down to the maximized championship window. And of course, at some point, injuries are going to play a part. You lose. Like what, man? Every time one of these players goes out, like Mo Wagner, just watching him, I'm like, that could have been any one of our players. It really could have been. Touch wood. And so it's like injuries are always a part of it. I'm sure that when the Pelicans drafted Zion, they probably envisioned championships with that guy.
Oh, of course, man.
Has he played 2 playoff games? Has he played 1 playoff game? I can't remember. So it's like, he's
injury prone. Every time he's injured, then he gains weight, and he's not the same player.
Exactly. And it's like, you can peg all the hopes and dreams that you want into a star or whatever. I think Scottie is really showing it that he's about the right stuff. Like, he's about defense.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's not. I just wish yesterday, he would pass the ball more instead of taking shots. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's funny because, a couple of years ago, we were really praying that he would shoot more and stop passing so much. Right. So I think that's where I'm saying, like, you're forcing against type, right? Like one of the coolest acting exercises that I often, used to work on with actors that I would work with, because I'm a director. And in my real life, I'm a director, as well as, this is my other life where I'm a podcaster. But I like to sometimes work with actors against type. So you'll take a guy who's always been a bad guy, who always cast as a bad guy, and you say, you want to be a good guy today, and let's try that.
You're a heel. Let's make you a baby face.
Exactly. And sometimes it can result in some fantastically weird, synergy on camera. And sometimes you discover something that you didn't think you knew you had. And it's really interesting to do that. And so I think, like, with Scottie is like, it's the casting against type model, right? But it's like, okay, you've been this pass first player. Brian always denies that he's pass first. I think he's thinking pass when he gets over that's why I think he's a point guard. Like, I think he's thinking, how can I set somebody else up when he crosses the half court line? And what you needed him to do was become more assertive as a scorer. One thing
can I ask you a question, sir?
Sure.
You think his goggles are affecting his play right now?
To some extent, I know that they have affected some of his depth perception on some of his passes. Like, he's been wildly off target on his misses. Like, whenever you put goggles, like, your field of vision becomes a little bit skewed. Like, to what degree, I don't know, but it's certainly not helpful to play with goggles when you're talking about a lead initiator. It's definitely not, it's not a good thing. I can't tell you how much worse he is because of them, or how much worse he is because of his ankle, or how much worse he is because of his hip. But all I can tell you is none of those things are helping a basketball player feel comfortable on the basketball court. So,
Right.
you know, but yeah, so what I'm saying is, like, the Raptors have a chance because of how promising the pieces are, that adding another piece to this is actually just almost like overkill. You know what I mean? Like because of how good we are developing, surely the development will continue throughout the summer. Surely Jacoby will come back with 20 more pounds. Grady will come back with a few more moves. Emmanuel quickly will come back with a clean bill of health. And at least in theory, again, we don't know. You know, injuries happen, shit happens, but in theory, you can only plan for what you can expect, right? So in theory, we go into next year, we have cap flexibility. We have no bad contracts on our books. Everything's clean. Some people think Emmanuel Quickly's bad contract. I promise you, it's a movable contract.
No, it's not, dude.
Yeah, it's. You don't think it's a bad contract?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad contract. I thought it was a little bit of a rich overpay, but then when I saw it was flat, I was totally cool with it. I was like, "Yo, shit."
I think
'Cause
Van Vliet's a rich overpay, if you ask me. Like,
well, it's a short. That was a short term deal, and that was because they needed to get the salary floor, and nobody wanted to go to Houston, I guess. And it's partially because they wanted him to change the culture.
getting 40 mil, scoring 2 points. Ugh.
Yeah, I think Fred provides value in other regards for them, at least. But yes, I agree. It was a massive overpay, and allegedly the Raptors were only willing to match 30 million, and I was like, only 30 million? 30 million is an overpay for Fred. But that's where I was on Fred. Anyway, so I guess what I'm saying is, I'd be very, very happy to hear what you have to say about this team. I hope you'll call in again in October.
Sure, man. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, my pleasure. October, November next year, call in. And I don't know what will happen between now and then, but I have a feeling that you're going to be very happy and very optimistic that we decided to go.
I hope so, dude. I want to see the Raptors do something. And my worry is, like, if we keep playing bad, that Scottie might leave, and I don't want that happening in the end.
He loves Toronto, man. Like, I know that there's this kind of like deep-seated paranoia in Canada about American athletes not wanting to stay here and all that stuff. But he's really planted roots here. He has 2 dogs. He has his girl. He has.
Bro, I'm just going with the history of, like, the Raps and, like, American players and stuff like that, to be honest.
Yeah, but Scottie's not a normal American player. Like, he's taken ownership in a way that I wished my, one of the reasons I absolutely despised Chris Bosh was it never felt like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's my perception, but I was like in my, I think it was my early 20s when Chris was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Probably around the same age as Chris Bosh. I'm a little bit younger than Chris Bosh, I think. I'm pretty sure I'm younger than Chris Bosh, but it was kind of like I was coming out through university when he was at Georgia Tech. So I never really felt he committed here. I never felt he saw it long term. And his comments when he got to Miami and said the air smells different down here, I was so done with him when he said that. Again, I'm an American, so I mean, I'm not even taking it as personally as Canadians did. But I felt offended for the city because I feel like the city put a lot into him, and there was a lot of number 4 jerseys, and they gave him a huge opportunity to stat pad on some really bad teams. And I think he was good, but I don't think he was great. I think it was a really big part of the failures that he complained about, not having enough help, not having proper rosters built around him. And I think, he just never did what Scottie did on day one. Scottie on day one, Toronto What's Good, Players Tribune article. I mean, he let you know very early he's here. Like the commercial, this is my home.
You took a chance on me. Now I'm going to show you what I'm really about.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right. And Just Frank saying DeMar loved it here. Facts. DeMar did love it here. DeMar still loves it.
Oh, hell
here.
yeah. Hell yeah.
And
it still hurts him to this day that he got traded. Come on now.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something. Vince loved it here too. Vince loved it here. Vince loved Toronto. 100%.
Before I go, what do you think about the Drake stuff you said about DeMar, man?
What about him?
You didn't hear his comments on DeMar, like on the Vince Carter tribute day, man? Like when Carter got his flowers?
If he retires jersey, I'll go up there and tear it down.
Dude, homeboy's supposed to be our ambassador. Like, come on now. And you say stuff like that over a beef with Kendrick Lamar? Like, come on. That's so whack.
Yeah, I think people have some very, very different takes on this than I do. I'm not a Drake fan.
Neither am I.
I've never been a Drake fan, and I don't think I'm ever going to be a Drake. I'm never going to be a Drake fan. I find him corny. I find him, obnoxious. I find him fake. And quite frankly,
Agreed.
it's difficult to say that in this city. But I'm a Kendrick fan.
But dude, guy's an ambassador of the Raptors, and you say something like that. Like if you put you know what I mean? Like when I heard that, I was like, wow, dude, I can't believe like this guy's even saying this on air, bro.
I mean, yeah, this comment, to be fair, Kendrick called him a pedo, to be fair. Fact. he did. Like, I mean, you got to think of it from his perspective. He probably thought that him and him and DeMar were boys or whatever because they made a couple commercials together and they were tight and they always used to dap up and stuff. But DeMar's from Compton. He's obviously going to rap
Right.
for Compton. But unfortunately, DeMar became sort of embroiled and used as a dig on us. And by us, I mean, not necessarily us, but Canadians, right? Because literally every time I'm on the panel, I don't know if you watch the panel, but I'm like on the panel and I always see these comments, even though I'm American, because I live in Canada. I've been here for almost 20 years, 24 years. Holy crap. I spent like most of my life here now.
Damn.
So 24 years? Yeah, 24 years. 23 years. I've been here for 23 years. So I always see these comments, you're not like us. You're not like us. So it's like, damn, like I know that Kendrick's goal was to go at Drake, but it felt a little bit like he went at Canada. and that was very conflicting for me because I love Kendrick Lamar, but it felt a little bit like a lot of people who were championing him used it as a way to diss Canada and kind of dismiss Toronto culture, Toronto lingo, Toronto roots. And I think there's a lot of culture here. There's a lot of culture here. There's tons of culture here, and
Hells yeah, man.
It's a beautiful culture, and there's a diversity, and it's like I've learned to really embrace the fact that this is not worse than New York. I used to think this was like, I want to be honest, like when I moved here, I was like, why the hell are we here? I don't think of it that way anymore. And people often ask me, like, would you move back? Would you want to go back to New York? Why would you want to not be there? I remember I had a girlfriend, a long time ago who was from New York. She wanted to move back to New York, and we ended up breaking up over it because I kept telling her, I was like, no, I'm home. I'm home. So that's why I really identify with Scottie because, and I root for Scottie as much because he's really made this his home. Like he really has. He's planted roots here. He wants to be a part of decisions. He wants to be part of the organization. He wants to be a part of winning here. He's really taking that ownership. And I'm not saying that one day, when the contract expires, 6-7 years from now, if it's all been a failure, that he wouldn't go to LA or he wouldn't go to Miami, he wouldn't go home or something like that. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying while he's here. Like he's as here as anyone has ever been here, and he's planted his roots here and he's embraced the city and he's embraced the slang and he's embraced the lingo and he's embraced the people and he's embraced the weather. You're never going to hear Scottie Barnes. Like Scottie's wearing shorts probably right now in Toronto. He'd be wearing shorts right now. That's another thing that, he and I have in common, which is that we often wear
shorts in the winter.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you ever want to know a player who's not going to stick around in Toronto, Kawhi Leonard, when he showed up in 2016,
man's got quick.
He did not want to be here. He's like, this is the coldest country in the world. Where the hell am I? The Arctic tundra. He didn't want to leave his hotel room. But it's like Scottie is just like, he's just cool with everything, So, I mean, this city is a perfect fit for him. I hope this fan base can wake up to the superstar that they have, coming up. And I know sometimes it's not very obvious with Scottie. Sometimes he does role player things. Today, I think he traveled 3 times. I was watching the game and they didn't call it any of the times, but I swear to God, if they wanted to be to the letter of the law, his handle was so weird and so loose today that he traveled 3 times. I think there was like a double dribble at, one of the counters.
Oh yeah.
Even one of the plays that I showed, he literally like fumbled the ball like 2
off the 3-point line. I know which play you're talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I understand when a player does that, like people just have this sort of notion of like writing it off and being like this clumsy, role player type, like what's he trying to be? But it's like, he's going to get there. I have no doubt in my mind as a basketball analyst that he's going to get there. And at some point it's just going to get smoother and smoother until it's just smooth. Like you can only get smoother for so long until you're just smooth. It's like losing your hair. You can only lose so much hair until you're fucking bald, right? So it's like, there is an end point to the development, and I think Scottie's a really hard worker. And, I thought somewhere between this year and midway through next year, I thought firmly he's going to be a top 15 player for everyone in the league. And, we're seeing what Cade is doing this year, and people are finally waking up to Cade Cunningham, and they're like, wow, he's taking a jump. Scottie took this jump like 2 years ago. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like this idea of like what could a maximized version of him with proper spacing, proper defense, etc. look like? I think he could look like 8-9 box plus minus type of guy. So I think he's gonna be really good, man. Anyways, man, thanks a lot for calling in. Appreciate you. And
Cheers,
yeah,
bro. Merry Christmas.
Merry
All the best.
Christmas to you. Cheers. Bye, Raven. That was a nice conversation. Proof, perhaps, that conversations can be had between people who don't necessarily agree on everything. Like, I don't necessarily agree. I definitely don't agree that the Raptors should be aiming for the play-in given where they are in the schedule. I certainly don't agree that, Scottie Barnes needs to be more passive, but or should take less threes. But I found it so interesting to have that conversation because I didn't at any point find myself being disrespectful or being disrespected during that conversation. And I think if nothing else, I could say that conversation was a very good, it was a very, very pleasant conversation for me to have a conversation with somebody who sees things very differently than I do. And I hope that I have come away from this conversation understanding his point a little bit more. And hopefully he's come away from this conversation understanding my point. So big shout out to Raven for calling in. That was very nice. All right. Okay. Seems like y'all are having a very, very different conversation about Jonas Valanciunas, but I'm gonna head to bed. I went to sleep at 7 a.m. after cutting that awful coaching video and checking it all out and posting it. I went to bed at 7. I woke up at 9:40 for the panel. So I have 2.5 hours of sleep. Wow. So yes, Pendants passes are on sale as of now via the Pendants website. Films will be announced at some point. We'll do more plugs, more promos, and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope that the Pendants community, the Pensare Basketball community will show up for Pendants again. That was very, very nice to see last year. And so help me God, if any of you wear a Davion Mitchell jersey, I might toss you out. All right. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. Talk to y'all later. Have a good one. Didn't you get banned? No? I don't know why. I thought you got banned. Yo, did you catch that? I flashed the story over everything on the panel. Yeah. I'm not good at that stuff, so I'm typically pretty bad at the self-promotion stuff. So I was very proud of myself when I did that. Teacher Mike saying ignorance is not ban worthy, Rob. Dr. Dread saying go get some sleep and enjoy the holidays. All right, man. You too. Enjoy your holidays as well. I think tomorrow I want to do a Christmas podcast. Last year, if y'all remember, I did a what I want for Christmas, and I haven't reviewed that video in a really long time. So I'm curious if I got what I wanted for Christmas last year. And I'm going to make a new list of what I want for Christmas this year. Yeah. Okay, cool. I don't know why your name, Dr. Dread. I don't know if there was a Dr. Dead or if it's you and I have disagreed a lot in the past. I have no idea. There's some people in the chat who repopulate, and I'm just like, didn't they get hidden at some point? I'm genuinely confused sometimes. But nevertheless, when I see someone's name popping up at whatever, I just assume it's a troll. You'll have to forgive me. There's been a lot of trolls over the last couple of weeks. Okay, so yeah, wasn't it a list of 25? I think it was a list of 20 or 25. Yeah. Fact, so do I. Have I had a stable connection today, though? I feel like the Ethernet cable solved the issue. And also, I don't think I'm lagging anymore. So clearly, like something has gone miraculously right. I think I have a stable connection now. Now, watch as I say this. Watch as I say this, and my internet connection gets fucked up for the next few weeks. But yeah, Key M saying maybe BAMs are temp. No, they're not temp. If I'm done with you, you're done. Like there are people, I looked at the list, it was 220 or 30 users that we've banned. And trust me, some of them are just troll accounts. It is not that aggressive. Some of them are like Rob's ego, Rob's an idiot. Like those are the accounts that are banned. Rob part 2, I'm the real Rob. Like there's like 18 Rob accounts of people trying to pretend to be me that are banned. So Mike P saying, yo, bro, Puma should sponsor you for the amount of time you wore that cap. Yo, for real, I should wear a Pensare Basketball hat or a Pendance hat. Like, why am I promoting Puma? And honestly, you know what the funny thing about this cap is? It's from Winners. It's a $12 cap from Winners, and I just like it. I don't know what the hell it is about it. I'm very I mean, I think y'all can tell I'm not very neurotypical. So I just become like obsessed with a particular garment, or like a particular type of thing, and I just want that thing. It was like a particular pair of shoes. I remember there was like a particular pair of shoes that I really liked when I was 19 or 20, and I bought 4 of them. So 4 of the same shoe is psycho behavior. Nobody does that, but I did that. So yeah, like my socks, they're like all the same socks. You know what I mean? Like I'm very particular about something like that, because I don't want to make decisions. I don't want to make decisions about stupid shit. Like a baseball cap. What baseball cap I'm going to wear today is like a waste of my life, right? Like what shoes am I going to wear is a waste of my life. What clothes am I going to wear today is a waste of my life. I have 4 different black hoodies, and I wear them all. One is big story over everything, one is small story over everything, one is faded story over everything, and then one is that yellow one that y'all often see. Those are 4 hoodies. Why do I need more than 4 hoodies? I don't need more than 4 hoodies. Some people think I never change my clothes. That's not true. Anyways, I'll talk to y'all later. Facts. Talk to y'all later. Have a good one, and another win for the tank.